So welcome to a new guide on this channel, and on this occasion is the Digi or DIGITAKT from Elektron. This is not a review, it's a complete deep dive guide about this device. Now if you like this, please like and subscribe, and if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee just to say thanks, you can. All the links are at the description. Right, so let's begin. This device is quite massive. The way I planned this video is so you can watch it as if it was a course. We will start at the basics and then keep moving forward until we learn more and more on each section. Everything's in chapters, so if you look at the description or the timeline, you can start a new section or skip the ones you don't want. Still, since this device is too big to cover in one single video, I've recorded some other videos to cover very specific topics like machines, MIDI tracks, and conditionals. Now you can find these videos in the cards at the top or the links at the description of this one. Now you need to understand how the whole machine had the data structure, how everything is structured in order to access the banks, the different patterns, tracks, and projects, and how all of this works. So as soon as you turn it on, most likely you're going to be standing, if you buy this new, or maybe you're starting from the beginning, you're going to be starting on something that says subaquatic. So this is the first pattern that you get from factory. Now if I play it, I'm going to go right there, I'm just going to play it and it's going to play. Right, so playing will always play the active pattern. Now you have 8 different banks right here at the bottom. These ones are going to be the 8 different banks that you have available. Now in each bank you will have 16 patterns available per bank, and it's going to be the one all the way to 16. So right here you have the bank and you have the pattern, and right here is how you access the banks and the different patterns. When you tap bank, you have the 8 different banks right here, and then when you type pattern, you have the 16 patterns. Now when you change banks, right, when you want to change bank or select a bank, it will ask you instantly where you want to go in terms of patterns. So if I want to go to the bank number B and then the pattern number 3 is gonna, take you there. And right here at the top, it will always tell you where you're standing. We are standing on the B and the pattern number 3. Still, if you want to go back, I'm going to go back to A and then the pattern number 1. Now, if you're already standing on a pattern on a bank that you already, want to be, and you want to just change patterns, by doing pattern, you can just change the pattern to some other patterns. And remember, you have 16. When you stand, I'm going to go to the pattern number 1 of bank A. When you stand on a pattern, you have 8 audio tracks. And this is the 1 all the way to the 8, and we can hear all the different audio tracks. Now, the ones at the bottom, they say MIDI. So you get 8 MIDI tracks. These ones, they make no sound. If you select them, you can select them, but they will just, will not use the sound engines, the engine that you have available for the DIGITAKT. So why do you get MIDI tracks? So, well, with the 1 to 8, you can use, you get your different sounds, and then with the MIDI tracks, you can still use them maybe to connect it to your DAW, and maybe this track is going to be controlling the synth on your DAW, or maybe through MIDI, the MIDI outs that you get right here, you just can connect it to your own synthesizer, maybe a hardware synthesizers, or maybe going to a hub and then go through different synthesizers. For example, this one will be going to one synth, this one will be going to a different device, and so on and so on and so on. So you get 8 of this. So if you think about this, you have a lot of power. You have 8 different tracks with a sound engine that we get with the DIGITAKT or DIGITAKT, and then you can connect to 8 different devices or to 8 different, places and, create stuff just like you do with this ones. Okay, since now we know that we have 8 banks, 16 patterns per bank, and then we have 8 sounds per pattern, we need to talk about the projects and how the drive works. Now, the plus drive is the storage of this unit, and it holds pretty much everything like samples, sounds, project, pretty much everything. Now, the keyword right here is going to be projects. So when we work with the unit, we just don't get 8 banks and 16 patterns each. We get projects, and this is how we work. We create a new project, and inside that project, we have the banks and the patterns. So when you turn on the device and you're standing on this, on the default factory project, it's going to be called presets. And this one, you get some projects, and when you play them, you're going to get some sounds. If you want to go to change a pattern, you just go and select a different pattern, and it's going to be playing just a different pattern. And you get a few examples. So this project has patterns and has banks that are being used. That's an example, right? So Where can I see these projects? So if you go right there to the settings, it's going to take you to the settings of your device, and you will have a bunch of options. So right here, we need to go to project. And if you go there and tap yes, it's going to ask you if you want to load or you want to manage your projects. So for now, I'm just going to go to load. When I go there, it's going to tell me, dude, you have a project called presets. This is the one you get from, factory. And then you can have other projects. This is mine project. This is mine as well. But then you can create a new project. I'm going to be creating a new project. I'm going to do yes. And it's going to ask me, are you sure? Now, I made no changes. I'm not going to save the changes. And I'm just going to proceed. So this is going to create a brand new project for me, right? So once you get success, you can just say, no, 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 no. It's going to take you back to the first screen. Now I'm going to be going to bank A and then the pattern number 1, right? It's going to stand there and then go to pattern number 1. Notice that this says untitled. And if I play something, nothing gets played. So there's nothing. If I go to pattern number 2, there's nothing, right? So it's completely empty. Now, this is again because each project holds its own version of the 8 banks and 16 patterns each. So you have a total of 128 patterns per project. So if you think about this, with a single project, you could create a complete live performance and then maybe load a different project, maybe the project number B, and that one will hold a completely different version with different sounds of the 8 banks and then the 16 patterns per bank. So it's just a very powerful stuff. Now, there is a catch, though. A project can only have 64 megabytes, around 11 minutes of samples, and you could assign it only to 127 slots. So you might have a project with a total of 128 completely different patterns divided on 8 different banks, really complex, but you only have 64 megabytes and 127 slots to choose from. And I'm talking about samples, right? And this is per project. You can load a different project and this will, load a completely different 127 slot and, 64 megabytes. So you might think that 64 megabytes and 127 slots is not a lot, but, it is just enough to create a good, a full performance. Now, where can you check all of this? Now, if you go to settings right there, if you go all the way at the bottom, you're going to see the system. So if I go to system and I say yes, it's going to give you more options. When you go all the way down, you will find the storage. So when you access the storage, this is going to give you information about your device, your plus drive, which is going to be, the whole drive, and information about the project you're working with. And it's going to tell you how many projects you have, how many sounds you have, and how many samples you're using. And this samples, it's about the current project that you're loading. So as I said before, the plus drive is going to be your whole storage for the whole unit. Everything is going to go there. And right here, you get information on how much you have available. So in this case, it's telling me I'm occupying just 6% of the plus drive. Now, then the funny thing is the one, right here is going to be the RAM. So when you work in a project and you start loading samples, one of those 127 slots that you can do or per project, this is going to be the samples, the sounds are going to be stored in the RAM. And this is so you can access to all the different sounds instantly, right? Not from the drive. So this is going to be the memory for your project. If I start adding samples and samples, the RAM is going to keep growing and growing and growing per project, of course, until, you are out of RAM and you cannot use more samples. So notice that right here, it says sounds and then it says samples. So what is the difference? Isn't it that the same? So there's a difference between samples, sounds in the sound pool, and then sounds in the project's sounds pool. And I know all of this is just confusing, but just don't worry. We're going to be talking about this in a few sections and you're going to get it. Now, one more thing, if you press no, it's going to exit out of there and you keep pressing no and it's just going to keep going back and back to the different menus. Now, when you go there and you go all the way at the top, since we are talking about projects, when you go to project, you can save your current project as, or you can go to manage projects. Now, on this one, you can choose right here the projects. Notice that you have presets. and you need to just manage your projects. Now, when you're standing on a project, if you press the right arrow, it's going to give you a bunch of options like create a new one, or init that project, or save it to a different spot, or you can even delete it if you have a project. I'm going to be pressing the func, and this is going to let you go by tens. And I'm going to go all the way down. You can store 128 projects. Now, if I go to this one, it will give me a few options like delete the project, rename it. So you manage your projects from here. So I'm going to be pressing no. It's going to take me out of there. No, it's going to take me to the previous screen, and so on and so on. So this is how we navigate, the different sections. So you have 3 ways of recording patterns. First, I'm going to be talking about the live recording. I'm going to make sure, and I need to make sure that we start on a new project. I'm going to go all the way down. I'm going to say create new, and then initialize a new project. So on a new project, what you get is the default kit, which is going to be, that's going to be the default kit. Right here, you control your master volume. So it's a pretty dull kit, and you always get this one when you start a new project. Right, so to live record first, makes sense that we use a metronome. So holding the func and tapping the pattern is going to turn on or off the click track. And right there, notice at the bottom top, it says on or off. I'm going to leave it on, and if I play it, we get the click track. Now, to live record, you will need to press and hold the rec and then do the play, but you need to press and hold. So if I play it, notice it's playing behind the scenes and the rec is blinking. So this means that you are in live recording mode. And whatever you do right here is going to be recorded. Now, notice it's a little bit off. So that's okay. So when you live record, you have 2 main ways of live recording. So you can quantize it, or you can, not quantize it. Now, for now, I'm just going to be deleting this track, everything I have recorded. So if this is off, the rec is off, you can just go to function and you can use the play to clear the pattern. And this is just going to clear everything. So if I play it again, we just get nothing. So now, if I go to rec and press and hold, I'm going to be doing the playing, and notice it at the top, it says live rec quantized. And if I keep tapping it, it's going to be changing it to the unquantized, or, you're going to be toggling the quantization or the not quantization. So I'm going to be standing on quantized, and I'm going to be recording something. And there we go. It sounds right in the pocket because it's quantized. Now, one more thing, if you're doing live recording, this is blinking. If you want to exit the live recording, but still, keep the playback, you can just do play, and it's going to exit the live recording and just, keep doing the playback. And if you want to record again, you just need to hold the rec. Now it's in grid, but if you do rec and play, this is not stopping, and it's just switching you back to, live recording. So right here, you can do whatever you want right here. All right. If you want to stop it, of course, you need to go to stop, and it will stop the playback. Now, notice that when I'm standing on the live recording, I do play, it's off, but then if I press this button again, notice that we get the rec. But now we get something different. This one is not blinking, and it's because this is the other mode. It's called the grid recording. So we're going to talk about this one in a minute. I'm going to be turning that off, and if I do play, doing play again is going to pause the playback. If I play it again, notice that every time I press the play, it's going to continue from where we are pausing all of this. All right, so it's super simple. You just do rec, you choose if you want to quantize or not, and you do your thing. Super simple. So let's talk about the grid recording. I'm going to be doing function and then play to clear the pattern or the sequence. If I play it back, we have nothing. We know this. All right, so the grid recording, what we do, we just need to go while we are stopped, we need to go to rec. So this is waiting for us to enter on which step the kick, the snare, whatever sound that you're using is going to be playing. So first, what you need to do, I'm going to be getting out of the rec. You need to select the sound that you want to program. It's going to go up in volume just a little bit. So let's say I want to stay on the kick, and I just want to program the kick. So I'm going to be going to rec, and then I'm going to be playing on the 1, the 5th, the 9, and the 13. And if I do play, you just get a 4 in the floor. Now I want to program the snares. So what you can do if you don't want to exit the playback, because you can do this while you're playing it back, you're just gonna need to go to track, you hold it, and this is a quiet selection. You can go maybe to the track number 2. Now we are standing on the audio track number 2, which is gonna be the snare. And then we just add the snare on whatever we want to, add the sound. So let's say I want to go to track, and then I'm gonna be going to the 6. Now this is going to be, I guess, hats. And then we just, add the different steps. So to remove the steps, it's just the same thing. You just tap it and it's gonna remove it. If we remove all the ones at the bottom, we just get it. It's super simple, right? So the grid recording mode is not just for creating sequences, it's also for editing sequences. So if I create a live recording, I can enter the grid mode and just, make changes to the sequencer. Now, one would think I'm gonna be getting out of the rec, right? So now we are just standing on nothing. So what I'm going to do funk right here, and I'm going to be doing clear. We already know that by doing this, we clear the whole, everything that we just did, with the pattern. And if I do play, we are just going to be getting sequence cleared right here at the top. Now, what happens if I do it again? I'm going to be doing funk, and if I do it again, it's going to say undo. So you can undo if you recently cleared that sequence. Now, what if I wanted to maybe just delete the snares, or, I want to delete the hats track on this pattern. Now, we need to stand on the track that we want to erase on the pattern. And then, again, we need to select it like that. And then the rec needs to be on. So we need to be in grid recording mode. Now, and we need to do the same thing. It's just the same options, the same combination function. And then clear is going to clear the track, not the pattern. And if I play it back, we just get everything without the hats. Maybe I want to delete the snares, so I'm going to be standing on the audio track that belongs to the snares. I'm just going to be doing a function and then clear, and kaboom, the snares are gone. So that's it. The live and the grid recording are the most useful and popular, I would say, and they're just pretty easy to use. Now, there is a third method, a third way of recording, which is the step recording. I will not dive into this because it's not the most popular and it's just pretty simple, and this guide is way too long. So I'm going to just skip it. You can go to the manual and there's a whole section if you're interested in this mode, and you can read that part and just learn how it works. It's just a pretty simple thing. But to be honest, you can do pretty much everything you want with the grid and the live recording. Now I'm going to go to grid recording, and I'm going to stand on the track number 1, which is the kick. And for now, I'm just going to remove everything. So if I play it back, we get nothing. Now we can hear the metronome at the back. So if I do function and then go to pattern, and instead of tapping it to turn it on or off, I'm going to press and hold, and this is going to take me to the menu of the metronome. So right here, you can turn it on. So it says right there, function. Again, when you tap it, you just turn it on or off. Pretty simple. Now, right there at the bottom, you have a legend. And this is going to be which knobs of the data entry knobs you need to use to modify these values. So the E is going to be turn it on or off. Now, this one is going to be the time signature. So you can use a different time signature for your metronome. Now, I'm going to be going to the classic one. Now, then you get the volume. You want to make it louder? You can, right? Now still I'm gonna go down, and then you get to your pre-roll. Now maybe you don't know what pre-roll is, so it's gonna be your count in. So when you're trying to live record, is gonna count in an amount of bars, certain amount of bars, maybe 1 or 2 or 3, or as much as you like in this case, and it's gonna count for you. It's gonna do the count in. So I'm gonna be selecting the 2 bars, right? And I'm going to be doing no to exit the metronome menu. Now, if I do live recording, remember it's holding, and then we do play, is going to count for 2 bars. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it starts recording, right? So this is what you would use, why you would use the pre-roll. Now, in this case, I'm just going to go back to the metronome, and I'm just going to turn it off for now. But this is just, again, completely up to you. Okay, so I have a 4 in the floor just like before, and I'm going to be maybe going to the number 6, which is going to be the It's going to be the close hi-hat, and I'm going to enter the, the grid recording, and I'm just going to be maybe adding some hats, and we can see that they are right there in the pocket. Now what you can do, you can just press and hold and offset the timings for these ones. So what you're doing, you're just moving this, this trigger before or after. And by doing this, hold it, you need to hold it, and you need to go all the way to the right, and this is going to offset it to the right. And then you can go all the way to the left, and it's going to be offsetting this much to the left. Right? And I can just, keep going to the different hats in this case, and just going to be offsetting the timings. And it's going to be, sound a little bit odd, but if that's what you want, you get it. Going to be going to this one. Going to be offsetting this. So by doing this, you can again offset the triggers from the grid, forwards or backwards. Now you can do many at once. Let's say I want to do this one, and this one. I'm holding 3 at the same time. It's going to do it for all the 3 triggers. Now when you go to the tempo, you tap it. It's going to give you the information about what's going to happen with your tempo. I'm going to be doing some playing. Now, the knob right here at the left is going to be called the level data. Now, this one will do a series of things depending on which screen you're standing. In the case of the tempo, is going to be adjusting the BPM, the beats per minute. You can go down or you can go up, and this will just make it slower or make it faster. Pretty simple. Now the data entry knobs, this one like this, and this knobs, if they are buttons, they work as a button, so you can just press them and do something. So if I press them, press this one, is going to be loading something else. Now in this case, I'm just going to be standing right here. Now if I go there and I press this and move it, it's going to go in a larger scale. Notice that it's just not going by once, it's going by a lot more. Because I'm pressing and just moving it. Now, if I do just one, it's going to go by once. Now, if I play back, right here, the up and the down, what they'll do, they will change the tempo in fractions. It says 129, so if I go up, is 129 and change. Same if I go down, it's going to go to 128 and change, and so on, and so on, and so on. Now, first, when you get this, maybe you're thinking that this will just, since it says time, is going to change the BPMs, but it will not do this. This is the one that does that. Now, this one's what they will do, they will nudge the tempo down or up. If I press and hold, notice it's just going down. As soon as I release it, it's going to go back to the original tempo. Same if I go up, and then I release it, and it's going to go back to the original tempo. Now, notice at the bottom, it says function and Y, which is function and yes, it will change the mode from pattern to global BPM. So what is the difference? So if I do func and then or function and then yes, it's going to give me a global and it's going to give me a pattern for the swing. Now, we are changing the mode to, I'm going to do it yes again. We are changing the mode to global. Now, when we are working with patterns, it means that, let's say the first pattern that we have loaded, which is, the first one right here, is going to be using 128 BPMs. Now, when I go to maybe a different pattern, which, a different pattern, I select a different bank or maybe a different pattern, is going to be loading whatever BPM was stored for that pattern. So the BPM is going to be per pattern. I might have a pattern that which works on a 128 BPMs, but the next one is going to be 60 BPMs. So when you change patterns, it's going to go really slow on the next one. So if you want to avoid this and have a consistent tempo, BPM, what you do again, you go to function, you do yes, and now the BPM is going to be global. So it doesn't matter if your pattern number 1 is 120 and the other one is 660. It's always going to keep it within, the boundaries that you have right there, which is going to be 120. So it's global and not per pattern, right? It makes sense. Now, if you want to exit this, I'm going to be doing no, just like that, and it's going to be exiting that screen. Now, I'm going to be going to the track number 6, and I'm going to be adding some hats. I'm going to enter the grid mode. I'm just going to be doing some hats like that. Right? Maybe I'm going to be doing something like that. Right. So I'm going to be stopping this and I'm going to go back, I'm going to go back to the tempo screen. Now I have this swing right here and you can change it with the data entry E, which is going to be this one. So if I play it, I'm going to be going to the swing and notice that it's just doing a little bit of swing. And this is something very standard that we get on pretty much all sequencers available in the market. We can only go down to 50, which is normal, and go all the way down and just, do that swing. Right. Go back. Now also, if you wanted to tap the tempo, you can do it, right? That's why it says tap tempo. Now, instead of just tapping it, you need to hold the function to tap it. And you need to tap it at least 4 times. So I'm going to hold the funk, and I'm going to be doing 1, 2, 3, 4. Just doing pretty much the same. But if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, it's just going to be much slower, right? Okay, so that's how this screen works. Okay, so we need to talk about the retrigger. I have the previous, the previous pattern. I'm going to be doing function, and I'm going to be doing clear. And if I do play, it's gone. Now, we need to talk about the retrigger. Now, first, I need to give you an example. I'm going to be entering to grid mode. I'm going to be making sure that I have the close hi-hat selected. I'm just going to be adding one single lonely hat to the step number 1. And if I play it, it's just going to be like that. Now, if I hold this trigger just like this, I'm pressing holding, and if I do up or down, it's going to give me the retrigger menu. Now, what we can do with this lonely hat, we can make it retrigger a certain amount of times. So you get your menu right here. Now, right there, the first one is going to be the retrig. Now, this one is on 0 by default. Now, this is going to be turning this on. 1 means on, 0 means off. Now still, when you go to the other knob, the E, you can change the rate. Now, if I release this, it's going to get out of that menu. So if I go back again, it's going to give you the rates, right? So the rate is how fast or how many times it's going to be playing this. Now, remember that this is going to be retriggered, right? So if I keep going up, right now it's going to say 16, it's going to on. But if I keep going on, it's going to say 20, it's going to say 24, and it's going to be 32s. So if I play this back, it's going to just do that. That is how many times it's just playing right here. Now then, if I go back, what we have is the length, and this is going to be the D, this data entry. If I keep going up, it's going to extend how many times, how long the retriggers are. If I keep going up, at some point, it's going to be pretty much everything. So you can change your rate with the E. You can even go up, and at some point, you're going to be all the way up, or you just can even go down and play it just like that. Right? You have, several options right here. Depends on what you want to do. As you keep going down, it's going to be slower, and you keep going up, it's going to be much faster. Now remember, if you're working with 16s, just pretty much going to be doing 1 per step on 16s, right? Okay, so then you have the velocity. Now, this is super important. I'm going to be going down and give you an example. Now, when we retrigger, what we can do, we can create a modulation, like an automation with the velocity. Now, I'm going to be standing on this trigger, and I'm going to be going to this one. I'm going to be going to the trigger, and I'm going to be going down on the velocity. This is going to be the velocity. We're going to talk about this in a minute. But for now, I'm just going to be going down in velocity. Now, I want to do that retrigger again. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to go to the menu. And then we have the vel right here. So since the initial trigger is way down in velocity, when it retriggers, what we can do, we can go up in velocity. And this is just going to create a type of motion. Starting low and then goes up. Now, if I do the opposite and go to the trigger right here, I'm going to be going up in velocity. And I'm going to be accessing that menu again. And instead of going up, I'm going to be going down. So now it will start hard, and then it will just decrease. So that's why you get, why you would get the velocity. Now, if you want to turn the retrigger off, go to this one, and then you just turn it off, and that's it. Okay, so back to the simple, the good old dumb pattern. So we need to talk about the mute mode. So right here on the function and right there, it says mute mode. What we can do funk, then hold it, and then go to the bank right here. And when we tap it, it's going to be changing from green to purple and so on, as long as we hold it and tap it. So right there at the top, it says global mutes, or it says pattern mutes. So the pattern mutes is going to be the purple, and the global ones is going to be a green. So for now, I'm going to be standing on the pattern mutes. I'm going to be releasing the funk. Now, if I play this, what this will do, it will just mute the tracks that are playing if you want, if they're playing. Again, you choose access per pattern to the mutes. So if I tap on that one, this one is not on anymore. So the kick is not playing, the snare is not playing, and the hat, it will just go, it will not be playing. So this is what you get on the per pattern, which is going to be the purple one. You're going to be muting tracks as they go. Now, to get out of this, if I maybe stay right here and just leave the hat, you're just going to do function and then back and you get out. But still, they remain muted. Now, maybe you notice this one is the kick, this one is the snare, and they are blinking purple. This means that you have a mute on. By going back, you just can go to right there. You don't need to do function, but if you get out, there's that when you go to function, we are standing on the purple one, there we go. Gonna get out, and then I'm gonna do function. Notice it's just letting me access to the mute mode, so I can just enable them back. Now, what's the difference with the green mode? Right? If I go back to function, then back to the global, if I mute this and this, it's gonna work the same. But the global, it means that it will mute these tracks on all the patterns on your project. So if you're working with 6 different patterns or maybe different banks, this is going to be muting pretty much everything. So you need to be careful. But remember that you can always go back. And if you go to the pattern one right here, you maybe disable this, remember to funk, and one time to get out. By holding the funk, you can access again to the mutes and enable them back. All right. So the only thing, again, you need to remember purple is going to be for the active pattern and the green is going to be global. Okay, so we know a lot of things now, but what we don't know is how to extend the pattern, how to, work with that. Now, you have two main things. You have the extending the pattern to maybe 64 steps or 32 and so on. Or you have the polyrhythm, which is going to be the track length. So again, I have the dumbest pattern right here. And it's, and I always do this because it's simple to understand and it's just simple to hear. I'm going to be playing this back. So right here, we have the main control, which is going to be the page. And the lights will indicate on which page you are. And since we have 16 steps per page, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Up to 64 steps. So to access that menu, we'll need to hold the function and then do page. This will take us there. So right there at the top is going to give you the length of the pattern. And for now, it's going to be 16. That's why you get one single light on. But if I go to page, what you can do, you can just tap it and it will change it to 32s, 48s, or 64 steps. Now, if I get out of this, we can do no and just get out. Notice that now the light will indicate on which page we are. We have indeed a 64 steps long sequence. So when we extend the sequence, it's going to copy whatever we had on the 16s and then, copy paste it on the next one and the next one and the next one. All right. Now still, you can go into the in-betweens. You can go to the E, data entry, and then choose whatever length you desire, right? So you can go down. I can even go all the way and make it just 2 steps, 4, 6, whatever. It doesn't matter. Now, if I'm standing right here, notice how this, gets changing. It's just turning the lights on or off. So if I'm standing on 16 and I want to quickly make it an 8 steps long, I just can do 8 and it's just going to respond to that. If I do make it 3, it's just going to make it like that. Now, what if you have more steps? You can go to page. It's going to be 32s. I'm going to be doing the 14th, and now it's going to be, 30. And so on and so on and so on. If you keep going up, maybe I'm going to be going to 48s. I'm going to be doing 5. It's just going to do the in-between and so on and so on. All right, so it's just a very simple thing. Now, for now, I'm going to be going to 32s. And if I play this is going to be 32 steps long. And if I, again, get out by doing no, we have 2 pages because we have 32 steps. Now, again, if I go to funk and then page, is going to take us to the pattern, and right here we have the scale. So we have 32 steps now. Now the scale is going to take whatever you have and scale it is the resolution of whatever it is that you're doing. Since we have 1x is going to be 16 notes, 16 steps, it's going to be 16 notes, actually. Now, if I go to the F, which is going to be this one, and I go up, it's just going to be offsetting. It's going to go much faster. Now, if I go to X, it's going to be 30 seconds. And, you can just go to the, like that, and maybe I can go down, and it's just going to be, triplets. And I can go down and make it half tempo. Right, so this is the resolution of whatever is that you're working with. Okay, so I'm going to be doing some playing back again, and I'm going to make sure that I'm standing on the hat. I'm going to show you why. If I go to function and go back to the page, we are back to the screen. I'm going to be making it, I'm just going to leave it on 30 seconds. I'm going to go to function and do yes. So when we do this, what we do, we enable the per track. So this is essentially called a polyrhythm. So what we can do, we can take whatever track, track that we have available. In this case, it's going to be the hat, and it's just, you can offset the length and the scale for this track. Just a great thing. So when you access the here and notice that we are standing on the hat, it's going to tell you, dude, you're standing on the track number 6. And you can change the length of that one alone, and everything else is just going to keep, whatever we had from before. So in this case, I'm going to be offsetting this. If I wanted to make it 2, it's just going to be maybe not working. Maybe I'm going to be making it 5, and we can get interesting, different rhythms when we offset the length, because everything else is just going normal, and this one is just much shorter. So we are just have different lengths now. So still, I'm going to be going maybe to something like that. What we can do is just maybe to scale it. You can just scale it, and now it's going to go much faster. Right? It's just completely up to you. You can go much slower. Same as before, right? Okay. Now I'm gonna leave it at 2x. So if I start playing back, it's just gonna be much faster. All right. So if I exit, I'm going to go to function, and I'm going to go to page and just exit, and I'm going to be doing some playing. Notice how the hats is going. It's going really fast, and we can see it on the page. It's just going 1 and 2, 1 and 2, right? If I stand on the track on the 1, which is the kick, it's going to be much slower. So right here, you get the indication of how fast you're going, on which page you are, depending on where you're standing, and if you're enabling this per track. Now, the rest of the world calls this polyrhythm. On the Elektron world, this is called per track. All right, but that's fine. So what is going to happen when we change tracks? So let's say that maybe, we're working on the pattern number 1 of bank number 1. And I want to cue in the pattern number 2. As soon as I do so, it will wait until the sequence is over. And once it's done, the 16 steps are over, then it's going to switch to the other pattern. I'm going to start again and do it again. Now, I'm going to be doing the queuing as soon as this page starts over. So as soon as that happens, we need to wait for both pages to be done, the 32 steps, in order to go to the next one. So this is how it works. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the pattern number 1 and play it again. I'm going to be holding the track, and I'm going to be selecting the kick, right? We are standing on the kick. And I'm going to go back to, sorry for that. I'm going to go to function and page. And we know that we have, 2 pages, 32s, and so on and so on. But right here, we have a bunch of options. For now, I'm just going to do function, and I'm going to do yes, and it's going to change everything back to the per pattern. Whatever we have right here is what it will decide how or when we cue the next pattern. It's going to wait for 2 pages, 32 steps in this case. All right. Now, when we work in the other one, we have more options. So I'm going to be standing on the hat because, we are using that example. I'm going to enable the per track mode. Now, this one is going much faster. So the pattern right here, this section, is going to let the, the transition, or when we cue a different pattern, know how much we need to wait before we just transition to the next pattern. So the master length is the one that it's going to be deciding this. So if I go to the master length right there, and right here, when we change it to something else, this is affecting how everything sounds, because it's the master length. So if we change it, it's going to wait for 9 steps. So the master length is still the master length. right? It just works like the previous screen, the per pattern. Now, what I can do, I can go this one, I can go all the way up, or just turn it off. It's gonna be infinite. Now, if I do this and I get out, I'm gonna do pattern, I'm gonna do the other pattern, and it will never queue to the next pattern, right? It's just never changing. It will always stay on the pattern number 1, and it's because we have this inf as master length. So now here comes the channel length. So what we can do right here, we can decide how much we want to wait before we move on to the next one. So for now, I'm just going to be making it 16 steps. If you wanted to, I can just make it less if I wanted to. So I'm going to be doing no to get out, and maybe I'm going to be standing on the track, and I'm going to stand on the kick. And I'm going to be doing pattern, and I'm going to be going to the next one. It's going to wait for much longer. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to be playing this. I'm going to be switching when we start the pattern. But this is changing it way before we get to the second page, and I want you to take a look at the lights right here. I'm going to go back. So we 1 page, 2 pages, and it starts over. I'm going to be changing as soon as we hit the first one. Almost there. Now it will not wait till the end, to the second page, because we decided that we wanted, a different channel length, which is going to be much shorter. It's just going to be 16 steps. All right. Okay, so one more thing, I'm going to be doing some playing. I'm going to do a function and go back to the page, to the pages menu. So I'm going to be doing yes to change it to, just a simple one. Now I'm going to go there. This is not right. I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to make it, 32 steps. Why not? Okay. And I'm going to make it, 64. So when we do this and we exit right here, the pages, the lights will tell us where we are. We kind of already know this, right? We have 64 steps and we go through all the different pages. Now, what is going to happen when we do some editing? So I'm going to enter the grid recording. I'm going to enable this. And notice it's still telling us, but at some point, it's going to keep moving right here and it will not let us edit. Now, if I do page, right here is going to be going through the different pages. This is what happens when we stand on the grid mode, so on edit mode. So if I remove that, it's just going to, take us to the next one and to the next one. When we enable grid recording, we always stay at some page and we can just press the page to move on to the next one. So maybe on the third page, I want to make the kick do something like that, right? So when we reach here, we get it. So we can edit, the sequence easily. Maybe I'm going to be doing something like that on the fourth one, and you can just, so on, switch to the different pages. So you can just, edit them the right way. And whenever you go out, it's just going to automatically just, take you through the different pages. Okay, so let's cover a couple more useful functions, and then we will go and start with something completely different. So I have the, the default boring pattern right here. All right. So what I want to do, I want to copy this boring pattern and paste it someplace else. Now, rec needs to be off if you want to copy the whole sequence, the whole pattern. So I'm going to need to go to function, and notice right here at the bottom, you get the copy, clear, and paste. So if you want to copy the pattern, you just need to do copy, and it's going to say copy pattern. Now, since this is in the memory, you can just paste it wherever you want. So maybe I can go to the pattern number 2 on the same bank, and just to make sure I have nothing right there. And with the rec off again, I need to do function, and I need to do paste. If I do paste, it's going to paste pattern. Again, it's letting you know right there at the top. And if I play it, we are pasting the pattern. So I'm going to be going to the pattern number 1. What if I want to copy a track? So, well, this is just the same idea. You need to stand on the track that you want to copy. We have a kick, which is going to be that one. We have a snare, and we have the hats. So I'm going to be standing on the hats. Why not? So since you're standing right there, I'm going to be entering in the grid recording mode. And when you're standing on that track and on grid recording mode, you do function and you do copy, and it's going to say copy track. Once that's done, you can go maybe to a different pattern. I'm going to go to the number 3 right there. I'm going to be standing on that pattern. Remember, we need to be on there on grid recording mode. And I'm going to do function and I'm going to do paste. And it's just going to paste the track. Right? So very simple. Back to the first, boring pattern. I'm going to be going to page, function, and page. And I'm going to be extending this to maybe 64 steps. There's going to be 64 steps of the same thing. And then I'm going to be exiting this. So what I want to do, I want to copy a page and then I want to paste maybe a page on the same pattern or maybe on a different, maybe on a different pattern or different bank. Everything that we are doing right now, we can do it on the same pattern, right? So, okay, so I want to copy something. Now the rec, it's right now on. It's right? It's going to be on. So you need to be standing on the page that you want to copy. So by doing this, you just can change to the different pages. And maybe we have a change right here. Maybe I'm going to be going to, we are standing on hats. So maybe I'm going to be doing something like that on this page so we can easily identify this page. And what we need to do, we need to go to page and then we do rec and when do copy page. And it says right there, copy page. So then if I maybe go to whatever, other pattern, it's going to take a little while to change because we have 64 steps now. So now right here, we can just say page and then paste it and it's going to be pasting the page. So we can do the same thing. So what if I wanted to copy the hats that we have on that page, on this one, and paste it on a different page? Well, it's just, the same idea. I'm just going to be copying the page, pressing page. I'm going to do copy. It's going to copy the page, right? And we are standing on the hats. Now I'm going to be changing pages. Maybe I'm going to go to the first one. I'm going to do page, hold it. And I'm going to be pasting this. And now we have it on the page number 1. We have it not on the 2. We have it on the 3. And, and all the way back. Right. Okay, so let me just show you one more thing. So I'm going to be, again, playing it. I'm going to go to function. I'm going to go to page. And I'm going to make it just 16 steps long. That's all. Because it's just going to be a little bit easier. So what I want to do, I want to copy just like the way we did before. I want to copy the pattern and paste it someplace else. So again, we need to go to not being in the grid recording. We need to do function. It's going to copy the pattern. And then if we want to paste it maybe on a different bank or someplace else, I'm going to go to that one and then go to that one. And once we stand there, then and only then I can do function and paste. And we paste it on a different bank. It's going to be the E number 1, right? But maybe I don't want to do this. I don't want to exit the playback and exit the pattern number 1 of the bank A. I just want to copy paste without exiting. Right. So I'm going to go bank number 1 and then pattern number 1, which is the one that we've been using. Right, bank number 1, and then it's going to be the pattern number 1. And I want to copy. Now it's going to be a little bit, just a little bit tricky. So if I want to copy the pattern, I can do pattern, hold, then pattern, the pattern I want to copy, and I'm going to hold this, and then I'm going to be doing copy. And notice it says copy pattern, and I'm going to release it. Now what I want to do, I want to paste it. So maybe I want to paste it on the pattern number 8, whatever. So I need to hold the pattern number 8, and then I need to hold the stop for a few seconds. And it says paste pattern. And when it's done, with the countdown, it's done, it's going to be pasting it. So if I go to the number 8, we have, the same thing on the pattern number 8 without exiting the pattern number 1. So this is just another way of doing things. So there are more things that we can do with patterns and sequences, but there are things that we use them with the rest of the device, which are the params and the data entry knobs. So as you can see, there's no linear way of learning this device. You can learn maybe parts up to one point, but then at some point, if you want to use some of the functions, you need to learn the other side. Right now, we are just learning how to create patterns, how to, change the length and do all the, the basic stuff that you need to know. But then the next functions are going to be with the data entry and the params that we have right here. So now we need to stop learning this and we need to move on to this section. Once we know how to make all of this section work, then we go back and then we talk about the functions that we will use with multiple parts or maybe both parts. So in this section, we're going to talk about the different params that we have available, and it's going to be a quick overview. And later, we're going to go deeper on the most difficult ones because most of them are just very simple to understand. The most difficult ones is going to be the filter and the LFO, and at the end of this guide, you have a section where I go deep on the filter and the LFO. Now, the other one is going to be the source. So this one is about sampling and machines, and I've recorded a video, a different video, just to explain everything that happens on the source. But for now, we're going to do a tiny little overview on all of the params. Now, you might have some experience in how all of them work. They work. Now, if you do have some experience, I'm not going to be teaching you anything. Maybe you can move on to the next section. But maybe you're just starting and this is your first, Elektron device and you don't know how they work. Well, you need to stay and we're going to, check them one by one. Okay, so everything starts on the trigger right here. So I'm going to be going to trigger. So this one will decide a bunch of things. So if I keep playing this knob, the A, is going to be changing the pitch. And maybe I'm going to be going to here. So we can hear the pitch changing. So the note is going to be the pitch you're going to be working with. Now, since we are working with samples, all of this is just going to be very relative to the sample that you're using. Because maybe detuning it too much is just going to affect the sound of the pitch, the sound of the sample, sorry. So when you play the keys right here, the triggers, they're not velocity sensitive, so you will need to adjust the velocity accordingly with this knob. Now, it depends on the sample that you're using. You might be using a very short sample, and all of them, very short. Maybe the 8 is not that short. So right here, you can adjust the length. So if I go really down, it's going to be much shorter. If I go to the other side, notice it's just completely the same. So what this is the trigger. So I'm going to be going to function and clear whatever sequence, and I'm going to be using this one. And I'm going to be adding it maybe, right there. So I'm going to be doing something like this. And notice that when we play the cymbal, it's really long. So when I go to the cymbal, I can adjust the length a little bit. And this is going to be the step length, the trigger. And on the Elektron world, each step, each button calls a trigger. And if I make it much longer, notice it will extend a lot more. Now, if I maybe remove this, it's going to be a little bit more obvious. But it is super long. If I make it a lot shorter, it's just going to last a little bit less. All of this depends on the sample that you're working with. And if you want to make it really short, well, we are going to be doing that on the source. All right. So then I'm going to be maybe using a different sound because that one is just a little bit annoying. So I'm going to go to the hats. I'm going to be doing just one hat on the number 5. So then we have the probability. Now, if I go up on the probability 100%, this means that every time that we reach this trigger, it's going to be playing. But maybe if I go down, sometimes it's going to play and sometimes it will not. And it has a 70% probability that it will get triggered. If you go 50%, it's 50-50 chance. And as you go down, you have less chance that this one is going to be playing. But it's all random. Right? It's going to reevaluate every time that the loop starts over. So right here, we have something special that we're going to be talking about on a different video because it goes really deep. And it's going to be the conditionals. If I play a key, play a trigger, hold it, right here is going to be changing from probability to conditional. And this, it's going to be a long topic. I created a different video to explain one by one and give you a bunch of examples. That's why, I recorded this on a different one. Now, you can find all of these videos on the description of this video, of this guide, or you're going to be finding them in the cards. Super simple. Now, then we have the FLT T and the LFO T. So this is the triggers. So we have a filter and an LFO for each of the sounds. So every time there's a trigger, it's just playing that note or playing that instrument is going to trigger the filter so the filter can react, or it's going to be triggering the LFO so the LFO can react. If you turn this off, the filter and the LFO will not be re-triggered or will not be triggered. And all of this, it's something that you use along with the filter and the LFO. Okay, so then you have, I'm going to be removing this. Then you have the source. If I go right there and if I play it, all of this is going to be about the sample that you're playing, right? The sample that you're using. So if I keep playing it, this is going to change the tune, but it's a little bit different from the trigger because this is the sample engine. If I keep going up or down, it's just going to change the tune pretty easily. Now you can do function, and it's going to be going in, 12th, which is going to be an octave, right? So just a little bit easier. Now, all of this right here, you have the playback or how the sampling engine is going to be working. Right now, it's going to be forwards, and if I change it, notice it says FWD. It's going to be forwards. We play it, and it goes forward. Now, if I go to the other ones, it's going to be forward loop. It's going to be reverse looped and then reverse. So it means reverse means that it's going to be playing reverse. And then the loop, it means that it's going to be looped at some point. Notice I'm pressing and holding and it's just playing it back in reverse and looping it. If I go to forwards, it's just the same thing. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about this one in a second. Now then the other one that we have is going to be the bit rate. And if I play it back, I'm going to go maybe to forwards. So it's a bit reduction. All right, it's a nice addition that we got. So it's, again, just a different thing. Then we have the start length and the loop. And also you have a level. Now on this device, when you use sounds, they have different sound stages. So if I playing this track, right, the hat, I'm going to be going to here. This is going to be changing right here. So this is the track level. And we can just manage the volume of the track. It's a little bit different than managing the volume. Oh, sorry, the volume from the sample. Right here, we're going down in sample level. And notice that the level of the track is not going down. It's a little bit different. And much later, when we go to the amp, we have a new volume, new gain stage, and then we have a mixer that we're going to talk about later. You get different sound, different gain stages right here. So then we have the start length and loop. Since we worked with samples, this is going to be, playing that sample. Now, if you play the source again, it's going to give you a different view. Now, this view is completely the same as this view. The only difference is that this one lets you see the waveform, so you can adjust the start level and everything else, and you get a more visual reference. So this is just the same options right here at the top, right? So when I play I'm going to go to the symbol because it's just longer. So when I play the symbol, I can offset the start of the sample playback, right? Instead of starting from the beginning, I'm going to be starting at this point. So at some point we need to end, so that's going to be the length. And that's how, you do adjust whatever is that you want to do, or, in terms of sampling. So then, since you have the loop right here, the loop is going to be looping it. And for now, I'm just going to do it like that. If I play it, notice that nothing happens. But what happens if we go to the different play modes and I enable the loop? Notice that it starts playing the sample. Maybe I'm going to be going right here. It starts playing the sample, but then at some point, since we are looping, it's going to get stuck at that point. And this is what, happens with the loop. So with the loop, we decide when we want to loop it. If you want to loop the end, or we want to loop right at that point. Right. Now, there's one more thing that you need to know, and for now I'm just going to go all the way down to forwards and nothing of the loop. I just don't care. I'm just going to go all the way down. Right. So we just get the normal symbol. So I'm going to go back to the other view. So this device, the DIGITAKT, had a massive update in terms of how we sample the different sounds. And we got an update with different machines. They are called machines on the Elektron world. So right now, what we are doing, we are using the one shot, which is the default, sampling engine that we always get. Now, when the update, the 1.50, we got different machines, which are different ways of sampling. So if I do function and I do source, it's going to take us to the menu where we can choose different engines for the sampling. right? So if I go to Verb, if I do yes, notice that we have different options. It's because this one works in a different way. And if I keep, going to the other options, they all going to be, a little bit different in terms of what we can do. Now, this is a very long topic. And as I told you before, some of the, this is way too long, way too large to cover on one single video. So I've created sampling and how to, sample or to record own sounds and how to use the different machines. So check the links in the description or the cards, the link is going to be there. And if it's not there, it's because it was not yet released. I can only upload one video a day on YouTube. That's the way it works. Still, if you want to always use the one shot, there's no crime right here, right? This is just going to work perfectly. I could be doing yes. Is the, the engine that we've been using forever. So right here, I'm standing on the kick. You have something they call samp. So this is how we select the samples, right? This works with samples. If I keep scrolling down, I can just change the sound for this trigger, right? And remember, we talked about this. We have 127 slots to choose from, and we can import the different samples to the different slots. So this is how we change the different samples. Now, we will talk about this in a couple minutes because it's, again, I want to say a long topic, but I need to provide some examples and just explain it on a different way. But right here, if you want to change the sounds that you get, and I want to make this one, sound like a kick, I can stay right there, and this one is going to be a kick, and this one is going to be a kick too. Right, so I'm going to go to the symbol. So now we need to talk about the filter. Now, again, the filter has a bunch of options. It's a pretty simple thing. If you know synthesis, this is a very good all-around common filter, right? We just get your envelope right here at the top. You can just manage your attack, your decay, your sustain, and your release. And right there at the bottom, right here, you just can chop the frequencies of your symbol. You can add a little bit of resonance with the F. Again, it's just a filter. If you want to use the envelope, maybe I'm going to be doing a little bit of envelope. You're going to be modulating the cutoff. Just like a normal, filter that you get on a synthesizer. And you have different types of filter. You have a low pass, high pass, it makes sense. And then you have an EQ type of filter. And this is just very particular. With the resonance, you can boost or you can, just cut. I'm going to be talking at the end of this video. There's a section called filter and LFO. And I'm going to be deep diving into the filter and the LFO. And one other thing that if you press the filter again, you have a second screen with, a different, some different options. Again, I'll go to that section at the end of this guide, and I'm going to be deep diving into the filter. Now, then I'm going to go to the amp, and for me, this one, I'm going to be maybe changing the sound. So the amp controls how the volume goes out of the sound, the track. So again, you just get the standard controls like an envelope with an attack. You have a hold, and then you have a decay, and that's it, It's very simple, just a normal, simple envelope. This is how you're going to be controlling. But if this is too long, you can just make it much shorter from the, from the amp. Just making it super short. All right, so again, just very simple. Then you have an overdrive. You can just crush it with the overdrive. And then from here, from the amp section, you can send this to a delay or send it to a reverb. So with the delay and the reverb, what you will be doing, you will be just sending whatever sound that you have right here to the delay and the reverb. So it's like a send track. You're just sending. And it's because when you're working on a project, you only get, per pattern, of course, you get a delay and one reverb. You get just one of delay and one reverb. You don't get, maybe a delay for the kick, delay and reverb for the kick, and then a different delay for the snare and, and everything else. You just get one single delay and reverb, and all of the sounds will go to that delay and that reverb. Now, then you have a panning control. You can go to the right or you can go to the left. Pretty much self-explanatory. And then again, you have a volume, another gain stage right here. Now, then you have an LFO. If I go to the LFO, notice it says 1 and 2. So per track, you get two LFOs that you can work with. Now, all of this is just pretty simple. I'm going to be explaining again on a different section at the end of this guide, but you can just manage the speed of the LFO. You can multiply the speed. You can add a fade or a fade out or a fade in for that LFO. And then you have a destination. Now, since this is an LFO, you need to modulate some of the other params, some other thing. So this, by scrolling this, you're going to be selecting what you want to modulate. Something from the filter, something from the amp. This is where you select something. And then you just maybe do yes to modulate that. Now you have your, you can select different waveforms from all the way from sample and hold to just classic waveforms. And then you can adjust the phase. And we're going to talk about what this is on the LFO section much later. And then you have the different modes that you can use, which is the trigger modes, how we trigger the LFO. And then how much modulation you're going to be doing. Now, when you tap it again, it's going to take you to the LFO number 2. And right here, you just can choose a completely different destination and do a completely different thing. All right, so this section is a breakpoint. Once we understand how to work with samples and sounds, we can take everything we've learned so far and create just awesome performances. We already know how to create different sequences, how to work with patterns, bangs, the different lengths, pages, and everything else. Now we need to understand samples and sounds. So we get the default boring kit with the default sounds that, we get when we start with a new project. But how to add different sounds, different samples, and work with different things. So you need to remember this. On this device, you have samples, you have sounds, and then you have sounds in the sound pool. And there are 3 different things. Right, so let's do samples first. Now we have a lot of ways to add samples to the different tracks. And remember, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tracks, and all of them, they have a default sound. So when you go to source right there, and you go to this one, you can navigate the different sounds. And by default, you get the digit, which is going to be the bass drum, we kind of already know this. And we get the 8. This is the default kit. Now what I want to do, I want to bring a new sample right here. So I'm standing on the kick and I'm going to be selecting an empty slot. So once we are here, I can do function and then yes, and it's going to take me to the sample library. And all of this works just like navigating on a PC. In the sample library, you will have factory, which is the default sounds that you get from factory, and then incoming and then recorded. Now, if you added samples on this to this device, from your computer, they're going to be showing right here. So now when we go right here, what we need to do is we need to navigate to the different directories and find the sample that we want. If I go to the factory library, I'm going to be saying yes, and it's going to take us in one directory in, and the double dots, if I do this, is going to take us back one directory back. It works just like navigating on a computer, just pretty simple. If I go to factory again, we can go to drums, we can go to synths, and we can start importing, different things. So let's say I want to go to, synths. I'm going to be standing right there. And we have more directories. I can go to steps and pads, whatever. And right here is going to give me a bunch of list, just a list of, the different sounds, the different samples that you have from the factory. Now, how can you check them out? So by standing on whatever sample, you can do function and yes, and it's going to be playing back the sample. And you can go to the next one and just audition the different samples. Oh, made a mistake right there. Different samples. And then when you get, when you find the one that you like, you just need to import it to your project. Now, one more thing that you need to know is that by holding the function and the left and the right arrows, you can navigate directories up, or you can navigate directories, down. So once you find the sample that you like, let's say I like that one, I'm going to be saying yes, and it's going to be selecting it. And notice it says 9. And it's because when we were assigning this, we did a quick assign. We were standing on the sample number 9, and then we did, the function and yes. And this is called a quick assign. So now this trigger uses that sample. So we can just, maybe go into grid mode and just start adding that sample. Right? So this is how it works. You just select your slot and then you find a sample that you like and then you use it. Now, one thing that you need to notice is that when we import a sound, just like, the one we just did, none of the params Notice that the filter stays untouched, this one stays untouched, and so on and so on. So if I go and do the same thing, if I stand on the 9 right here, and I do function yes, and I load a different sample, maybe that one, let's see how it sounds. It sounds like that. I'm going to say yes, and I go no, and go back to source, and I play it back, we get it. But notice that again, none of the params are just changing. None of them. And it's because when you import sample, the params won't change. And this will be important in a minute. When you're standing on one of the params, if you want to see the values, you can press and hold, and it's going to show you the values right there. This is something I forgot to tell you. All right, so this way of assigning samples, just like this with the function and the yes, is called a quick assign. Now, we have other ways, which are, maybe a little bit better if you want to import multiple samples. Okay, so I'm going to be going to the settings. When I go to settings, it's going to give me a bunch of options. We need to go to samples. I'm going to go there. And yes, and we get pretty much the same, same screen, the same directories. So I need to go to factory, and let's say that I want to go to synths one more time. I'm going to go there. And I'm going to be going to maybe analog notes. And right here, we have the same idea. We can do funk and then just audition the different samples, right? Now, the main difference with this one is that we can select many samples and import them all at once. So let's say I want this one. I'm going to be going here and just, we get a check mark every time that we do yes. So I'm going to be importing this 5 different, samples. What can we do now? So right now, when we are done and we are ready to import it to our project, I'm going to be doing a write. And then you will get a bunch of function options. You can select all the samples, deselect, delete, and you can do several options, because what we are doing now, we are navigating the directory, the main storage of the device. So you can select samples and delete them or move them if you want to. It's just like navigating a normal PC, just a PC. So in this case, what we want to do, we want to load the samples we selected to our project. So you need to go to load to proj or project. I'm going to say yes. It's going to ask you, do you want to? Yes, we want to. It's going to take a little bit of time. And then once you're done, you just can do no, go all the way back. And if you go to source right here to the samples, we can see that right there, notice that it's importing all the different samples. So now you can go nuts, import whatever sample you want, and use different sounds for all your 8 different locations. Still, when you import, notice that all the sounds, maybe I'm going to be going to that one. I'm going to say yes, and now this trigger is going to use that sample. The filter and the trigger and everything stays the same, stays very open, and has the default values. Now, remember that you have 127 slots where you can import your sounds. Now, so sometimes it's going to be a little bit, hard to manage all of them. So what you can do, you can go to settings, and when you go to settings, go all the way at the bottom, and you see the system. So if you go to system, I'm going to show you first this. I'm going to go to storage. And when you go to storage, it will let you know how many samples are you using on this project, how much sample time do you have left, how much RAM you're using. So it will just tell you information about what you have on your project. Still, I'm going to be going all the way back to the beginning, and I'm going to show you something else. So when you go to settings, let me go up, and you go to samples right there. I'm going to go there. And you can go function and navigate all the way back to that directory. If you go all the way left, if you go to the left, it's going to say view RAM. So when you do yes, it's going to just show you all the different samples that you have on your RAM. So right here, you can manage the samples. So let's say that I don't want these samples. So you can do yes, you can select multiple ones. And you can, let me just select them first. If I go to the right, what you can do is select all. You can delete, but most importantly, you can unload. If I do unload, it will remove these samples from your project sample list. So another thing that you can do is select all the unused ones. So maybe you have a bunch, 127 samples on your project, and you're not using on your project most of them. So why do you want them there? So what you can do select all the unused. This will evaluate all the samples that you're not using, and it will kaboom, delete them all. Now in this case, I want to unload the checked ones. So I'm going to say yes. It's going to ask you, are you sure? I'm going to say yes. And then we unloaded all of them. So we get just the default ones right here, right? So if I want to confirm this, I can go to maybe this one that now has no sound. And I can go all the way back up and just confirm that the samples that we loaded are not there anymore. All right, so this is the way you import samples to your project. You use them, and the way you can unload and check how much you are importing, how much RAM you have left. Now, still, we need to talk about some other things, a different thing, because we have something called sounds. So what we are doing right now, we are importing samples. But right here, you have something that calls sounds browser. And if I do function and go to the import export, it says import sound, export sound. So aren't samples the same as sounds? No, they are not. So let's talk about the difference. Okay, so let's talk about sounds. And we already know samples. So I'm going to go right here and start with a new project just to make sure that we all start from the same place. I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to say no to save, and I'm going to be loading a new project. So we already know, because maybe you watched in the previous section, we know that when we import samples, we load the samples, but we don't affect the params that we have right there. That's just very clear. This is going to be samples. On the other side, we have the sounds, and the sounds will affect the params. And right here, I need you to really pay attention. So I'm going to be standing on the sample number 8, and I know that this one is the digit, sample that we get by default. So if I check all the properties, the trigger is on C. If I go to the source, everything's super open. It's not starting and ending at a very specific point. Everything is like default. Same as the field filter. There's no filtering. The amp is all the way open. The LFO is doing nothing. So we have a default values on the params. So now I'm going to be staying right here on the 8. And I'm going to be going to function, and I'm going to be moving this control right here. When I move it, it's going to take us to a screen where it's going to be showing a bunch of options, right? So this is the sounds or the sound browser. So right here, what we get, and I'm going to go all the way to 1. I'm going to release the function. We can't do this. And this works the same way as samples. I can do function and do yes to audition the different samples, right? So this is just like a sample. So what we are getting is something like that. So we get different samples, different sounds. Now, if you go to the left right here, you can filter this sounds by something, you can sort it by ABC, which is, ABC, and you can search a very specific keyword. But let's say that you want to filter, and it's going to give you tags. So let's say that you want kick sounds, right? Just to say something, or maybe I'm going to be going to, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just going to go to kick. Still, I'm not going to use it. So when you go to kick, it's going to give you all the sounds that have a kick tag, right? So again, you can select multiple filters. If I go to filter and do kick snare, it's going to give you all the ones that have a tag, the tag that calls, have a kick and snare tag at the same time. That's why we have no matches. If I do just maybe a kick, it will give you just the snares. Right? For now, I'm just going to remove all the filters. So I'm going to be going to maybe the 14th. That one is a cool one. I'm going to go function. And what we get, is just a drone, right? So what I want to do, I want to grab the sound and import it to the sound number 8 so we can use it. I'm going to be doing yes, and it's going to say loaded drone. Now, when I play it, we get it, right? So that's, really cool. Now, if you want to stop the sound engine, you can triple tap the stop, and it's just gonna, stop the sound engine. So, okay, so maybe you're thinking we imported a sample. No, not really. We imported a sound. And the main difference is that when you import the sound, you bring the sample, the sound, uses to work, but also you import the configurations of the LFO. You notice that the amp, it's different. It's using reverb. The filter is doing a filter and a resonance. So you're importing the sample, but at the same time, you're importing the configurations for the params. And that's the main difference between samples and sounds. Sounds will store a sample, and if I go there, I can prove it. Notice it says number 9. If I go to that sample, it says, it's using an acid square sample. So it's importing the sample, because we see it right there, but also brings to this soundtrack all the configurations for the params. Now, the issue comes when you want to change it. So if I want to use this, but maybe I don't like the sample and I want to change it and do something else. So if I go right here and go to select a different sample, maybe I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be selecting that sample. I'm going to stop the playback. Now, when I play it, notice it just sounds different. What I'm doing, I'm using one of the digit samples right here to use it. Now, the thing is that since we imported configurations for all the different params, all the configurations are not changing, right? So there, we are using the configurations of the drone patch or sound for a different sound. It just doesn't work that way. It's just not the same because all the params are configured to be used with the sample acid square, with the one that that preset uses. If I do this, that one is going to work. So this is the main problem. When I wouldn't say problem, it's just the way it works. You import the sound, it's going to change all your params to adjust to that sample. But if you change the sample, the params are not going to change. Now, you have a bunch of solutions. You can change them manually if you want, or you can use something called the sound pool. Now, before I talk about the sound pool, I want to show you a couple more things. So the benefit of using sounds is that you can create, I gotta go to that one. And I'm gonna maybe stand on the filter and I'm gonna be doing some filtering and I'm gonna be changing this. Maybe something like that. Right, so let's say that this is a wonderful sound and I want to save it so I can use it later on different projects. So yeah, you can do this. So this is the main point of sounds. You do something, you change all your configurations, and then you can save it for later. And you can do it by going to function and then the import export. So this will bring the import, the main screen for sounds. So import sound is going to be, importing a sound. But if you do export sound, you can save this sound to whatever location. It's going to say yes. And then you can just, rename it, rename your sound. And once you save it, it's going to be accessible through, the sound browser. And you just can use it later. And it's going to keep all the changes you did right here on the params. That's why you would use sounds. Still, if you want to manage the sounds, just like we do with samples, you can go to function again, import, export, and right here, you have the main configuration screen for sounds. And you can just audition all your different sounds, just like that. And, sorry for that. You can go there, audition all the different ones. You can see the tags that each sound keeps. And you can do a bunch of operations that we're going to talk in a minute, like moving, renaming, editing the tags, deleting, and all of this. So the function and this screen, this one is going to be the main screen to manage the sounds, which again are not samples. So I'm going to go to manage sounds. I'm going to go there and maybe I'm going to be staying on the number 2, and we all have this. So I'm going to be selecting yes, and I'm going to go to the right. And again, we have, a few options. So the first option is going to be load to track. This is what we are doing when we do function in sound browser. And I'm standing on the number 5. Maybe I want to stand on I'm going to go to the number 8. Why not? So I'm standing right there. And remember, I'm going to be auditioning that one. I'm going to be saying yes to load to track. I'm going to be saying yes. And once we do so, we get that for this, for this sound. Good. I'm going to show you something else. And again, I need you to pay attention because this is key to understanding the sound pool. So I'm going to stand on the number 7. We know that this one is using a digit sample, the classic default one. So I'm going to go to Funk. I'm going to go to Import Export. And you see the managed sounds. I'm going to say yes. And what I want to do, I want to import several sounds at once. So I'm going to be doing, this one. I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be selecting. Notice that we get the check mark. So then I'm going to do this one. And you know what? I'm going to do 4 or 5. So I'm importing different sounds at once, just like we do with samples. But now, how this is going to work, because I'm selecting one single track and I'm importing multiple samples. So if I go to the right, we don't have load to track anymore because we are selecting multiple sounds. So we cannot import one to a track. We don't have that option. But what we can do, we have something that says copy to. I'm going to be setting yes, and then it's going to give you a bunch of options. So you can copy to the drive, which is your main storage, or your different banks. So when we are talking about sounds, what you do, you store them on banks, and you can store up to 256 per bank. And this one kind of works like the patterns, right? But now I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the sound pool. Now it's giving me the option about a sound pool. What the F is a sound pool? I'm going to be saying yes to the sound pool, and it's going to say 4 sounds copied. I'm going to go and exit this. If I go to this sound, notice that we still keep the same hi-hat. We are not importing the sounds. But if I go to source, right here to the samples, we can see that it's importing other samples. So these are the samples that the sounds are using. And if I audition them, maybe select one of them. Let me just go to deep. Maybe not that one. I'm going to stay in Frank, right? I'm going to stay on that one. I'm going to say yes. I'm using one of the samples that the sounds we imported is, it's using. So if I check the configurations, the filter, it's default. The amp is default. The source is default. The LFO is default. Everything is default. So it's importing the samples that the sounds will use, but it's not changing the params. So this is something that we could use. Maybe we find some sounds that we like, and when we import it or just, copy them to the pool, to the sound pool, we are indeed importing the samples, but not changing the configuration of the params. So what is the point to have, to add sounds to a pool, something that calls the sound pool? And, let me show you first. First, I'm going to go to funk right there. I'm going to do triple dot. So we access the import and export and everything else. So when we go to manage sounds and I go to the left, it's going to say view pool. So when I go there, it's showing us the sounds that we imported. Now the sound pool is like the samples that we have on the source. It's a place where we can store sounds and they live within the project. So every time you change your project, you might have different sounds on the sound pool. And just like we did before, we just can go here and audition the different ones. So we know that they are being stored someplace within the project. So what is the point of adding things to the sound pool if, you cannot use it? So, well, we need to talk about sound logs and param logs. So let's talk about that on the next section. Right, so let's talk about sound logs and param logs. And all of this that we're going to talk right now, it's super important. This is going to take your experience with the DIGITAKT to a completely different level. So I'm going to be going to a new project because we all need to start from the same place. So I'm going to go to load project. I'm going to create a new. I'm not going to save the changes. I'm just going to say yes. So we start with the default patch, right? With the default project. And in terms of the kit, we have the default kit. Now what I want to start with sound logs. So if we wanted to use sound logs, we need different sounds. We need to import the sounds and we need to use the sound pool. Now, if you don't know what the sound pool is, you need to watch the previous section. So I'm going to be bringing different sounds. I'm going to go to funk and then, I'm going to go there and I want to import different sounds. So I'm going to be going to manage sounds. Now, right now, I'm gonna be picking different, four different sounds. Maybe I want that one. I'm gonna be using this one. I'm gonna be using this one. It doesn't matter, right? You just need to watch right here. You don't need to do it with me. And right here, we're gonna be doing the copy to, and the same thing we did before. We're gonna copy to the sound pool, and I'm gonna do yes. It's gonna copy the 4 sounds to the sound pool. Now I'm gonna go back, right? Go back to my pattern. Now I'm going to enter the grid recording and I'm going to be standing maybe on this one, on the number 8, which is the symbol, and I'm going to be adding steps right there. And if I play it back, we get, the symbol. Cool. We know this. So what we want to do, we want to add sound logs. What is a sound log? So when we add a trick someplace, we can change how this trick sounds. So we can pick one of the sounds and, we can make it play that sound. one of the sounds we have on the sound pool. And maybe this one is going to be doing a different sound, this one is going to be doing a completely different sound, and so on and so on and so on. It's a really cool thing because on one single track, you can use multiple sounds that contain different param configuration. So let's do it right now. So to do a sound lock, you need to press and hold the sound, the step or the trigger where you want to change that sound. You're holding, you need to move the level data. I'm going to be moving it, and notice it's giving us the pool, right? And we have all the different sounds. I'm going to be selecting this one, the first one on this trick. I'm going to be going to this one, and now this one is going to be doing maybe the second one, so we can do something different. This one is going to be doing the third one, the bass, and this one is going to go and do the fourth one right there. Now, if I play it, right, it's going to be super cool because it's going to, on each trig, it's going to just trigger a different sound with different configuration. Still, if you're right here and you want to see what's going on the different params and which sample is using and even change it, you can go tap and hold and notice that it's staying right there and it's even telling you what it's, which sound is using. If I go to this one, it's saying movement right there at the top. And we can just go to the different params and just, see what's going on. We can even change it if we wanted to. Right? So this is why you would use the sound pool and the sounds. So why is this, super important for us? So at some point, you would love to add a little bit of variation on some of your patterns, and you just get 8 different tracks, and maybe it's just not enough. So by using one track and using different sounds, you can add this variation that you might want. Now, on the other side of the fence, you have the param locks. So just to start over again, I'm going to be going to project. I'm going to be loading a project and then creating a new. I'm going to say no, and then I'm going to say yes to load a new, fresh, right from the start project. So if you go back, we have the same thing that before. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to stand on the track number 8, and I'm going to be bringing a different sound. And we already know how to do this. I'm going to be going to source, and then maybe I'm going to be standing on one of the free slots. And when we do so, funk and yes, and it's going to take us to the sample directories. So I'm going to be going to factory, and maybe I'm going to be bringing a synth sound. I'm going to say synth. I'm going to go maybe to analog notes. Why not? And I'm just going to audition one of the samples. I'm going to be using this one, cities. I'm going to select it, and there we go. It's added to the number 9. I'm going to be doing no, and every time that we play that trigger, we get it. So if I do the same thing than before, I'm standing on this trigger, I'm going to be adding 1 to the 1, the 9, the 5, and the 13. And if I play it back, we get the same thing we get in sounds. So the param blocks, with the sound blocks, we will be changing sounds on each trick. On this one, what we can do, we can modify the params by pressing, holding, and then changing all the different params. And this is going to be a param lock. So let's do it again. Let's just do that. I'm going to be going to this one. This step is going to change. What can you change? Everything that you have right here. I'm going to go to filter, and I think it sounds too bright for me. And I'm going to be adding a little bit of resonance. So notice that this trigger sounds different. So on this one, I'm going to go again. I'm going to maybe do a little bit more filtering, more resonance. Then I'm going to go to the amp and maybe add a reverb and a little bit of delay. And maybe on this one, I'm going to just go and do something completely different. I don't know, why not? I'm going to go to maybe the source, and I can even change the sample to something else. Maybe on this one, I'm going to go to the amp and just make it, I'll add a little bit of overdrive, pan it to the left, reverb, delay, and I'm going to make it shorter. You can even mess with the sample if I want to go right there. I could just, go to the length and just make it super short if I wanted to, or start on a different place. You can do whatever you want right here. That's the point. And just like this, by using a single sound or, a single track, like the number 8, you can just, toggle between different sounds and samples, and add this variation that we want. Now notice that the ones that we changed right here, the 13, 5, 1, and 9, are just kind of a flashing. And this is because we added a trick right here. And this is how, on the Elektron universe, we called a step. It's called a trick. So it's going to be triggering whatever sound that we are using, whatever sample. But since we added a param lock, and a param lock is just going to be flashing. So we have a trick and a param lock. But most importantly, is going to be ret flashing, right? Because we have a note and we have a param lock. Now, what if you want to remove what you did? You just don't want it. You want to get rid of this. So you can just kaboom, kaboom, and then enter again. And there you go. You have the same thing. You just can erase, just remove the steps and then just, go back. Now let's say on this one, and I'm going to just do it on just one. On this one, I'm going to go to the filter and I'm just going to bring the filter down just like that. So we can hear that there's a change. If I play it, of course, it sounds very dark. What if I want to reset whatever I did right here? So I'm standing, I'm pressing and holding. So what we can do, we can tap the data entry that, where we changed this. And it's just going to go back to the default value that, we had from before. It's just going to reset that param only, right? Now, can we do all of this live? Yes, we can. I'm going to be adding a few steps, just something like that. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be playing this, right? So I want to do the same thing, but I want to do it live. Now remember how live record works. You need to press and hold, and then you just need to do the play, and now it's going to blink. This means it's doing live recording. So now I can go to the filter and start messing with all this, and it's just going to be recording the automation. Right? It's just like recording automation. Right? And all of this is going to be, again, stored and it's going to be saved. If I go right here to the grid recording, notice that some of the steps, pretty much everything is blinking, but the notes where we are playing are red, and they're blinking because we have a param lock. But the other ones are not playing, but still we are adding modulation right there. So the sound will extend, this whatever we are using right here. And this step, it's again remembering the motion that we did right here, and it's recording it on each step. So when it's yellow blinking, it means that you don't have a note trick, but you have a param lock right there. As this is blinking, it's because you have a param lock. Now I'm going to be going to rec and play, and we are standing on live record. And what you can do, you can hold no. I'm going to be holding it and then tap the data entry. And this is what we'll do. It will erase the logs for that param behind the scenes. So notice it's just not modulating anymore. And if I stop it and I go to grid recording, is removing the locks behind the scenes. So let me show you one more thing. You're still standing. We have nothing right here. I'm going to add a step right here, and I'm maybe going to go to the filter and just make it super bright so we can tell the difference. If I play it, it's going to be a little bit, I want to say long, but it's just a long sample. Now, what if I wanted to add a lock on this point, but I don't want to trigger? So what you can do function and maybe add a lock there. And now, when you press and hold, you just can change. And, it's just going to do that modulation, that automation on this step without having a trigger. And you can do this, whatever you want, add logs, and then just, change the values. Right? So, again, this is how the sound locks and the param locks work. So remember, red means trigger, and if it's blinking, it's a trigger and lock, and yellow blinking means just lock. If you think about this, this is a way of doing automation, and other companies call it motion sequence. Now, this way, on the Elektron world, it's called, parameter locking or locks. So up to here, this is the main power of the unit. The sequencing, the importing samples, the params right here, the param locking. This is the main function. Once you understand and you're grooving with all of this, it's you really could say that you know how to use a DIGITAKT. Now, still, we have a lot more functions to extend everything that we just learned. But just using what we know, importing samples, adding sounds, adding logs, and, changing the length and everything we learned so far, you can create great performances. So you get a chromatic keyboard, so you can maybe load a synth sample, and you just can use it, like a keyboard. Right here, I have a synth sound, so you will need to load something that sounds like, you would play with a keyboard. So to enable the chromatic mode, you will need to stand again on this track. I'm standing on this track, and what you need to do is function, and then you need to go to track, and notice it says chromatic. So you need to tap it. As soon as you do so, it will turn on the lights and show you kind of a keyboard. You have the black keys right here at the top, and at the bottom you have the the white keys. So you can just, so you just can play your different sounds like you would with a keyboard. And we want to get out of the chromatic mode, just again function and tap the track, and it's just gonna go out. But can you record live by using the chromatic keyboard? Well, yeah, that's the point. I'm gonna be doing holding and then doing a live recording. And notice that we are still standing on the chromatic mode. So whatever I do, it's just gonna go and record it. Right? How fun! Now again, if you want to exit the chromatic mode, function and tap on the track, and chromatic is gone. Cool. Now I'm gonna be deleting everything that we did. If I play it, we get nothing bad, but we still get back, but we still get the synth sound. So what you can do by doing funk and long pressing the track is going to bring you to, it's going to take you to the configuration of the chromatic mode. So right there at the top, when you play it, you can see where you are actually playing right there at the top. Right? Pretty simple. This is something that we already know. So what you can do is that with your up and down arrows, you can change octaves. Now below you have the most important part, which is going to be the the scale mode. So right now it's going to be standing on chromatic. So what if you want to use a scale? Well, you just go right there and you just find the scale that you want, and notice that the layout right here is just changing. And it's because it's changing because it will remove all the notes that don't belong to whatever scale that you're selecting. So if I do a pentatonic minor, we don't have a lot, but if I play these ones in between, we don't get them because they don't belong to the scale. But still, you need to select the root. This is going to be the root, and whatever you do is going to change whatever you have right here. You know what, I'm going to go maybe to a Mixolydian, something like that. Or I'm going to say a Lydian, why not? So what you get right here is the keyboard fold. Now this will do, it will change the layout of whatever you have right here. And notice that you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you get it, but it's going to be an octave lower. And this one is going to be the same as this one. Now, all of this depends on the scale that you're using. If you bring something that, it takes less notes, like a pentatonic, the scale is just gonna, it's gonna be a little bit shorter. Maybe the camera is not so generous. This one is blue, and this one is blue as well. This one is blue, and this one is blue as well. So the main difference is that you can play 2 octaves pretty much on the same keyboard layout. Now, all of this is just depends, what you like, what you like the most. Now let's talk about saving, because so far, we didn't do it. It's something very basic, but you're gonna need to do it every time that you work with your DIGITAKT. So we need to save projects, we can save patterns, and we have something called a temporary save. Right now I have nothing on this pattern, and I'm starting with a new project. So it would be cool to do something and maybe, save the project somehow. And I'm gonna be maybe going to this one, and I'm gonna be doing something dumb. I'm going to do something like that, something very simple. So now let's say that this is just wonderful, and this is going to be my performance, and I want to save the project. By going to function and then settings is going to save the project. Function and save project, it says right there. I'm going to go there, and it's going to take you to the place where you have all your projects. The only thing you need to do is just select one of the empty slots, and you just need to rename it. So at the bottom, you get the legend of what you can do and the keys that you need to use. In this case, I like to use function and no just to delete. And if I want to enter something new, it's going to bring, a keyboard. So you can select something. And since my channel is going to be X and B, I'm going to use that name. Okay, so once you're ready, you're going to do yes. And there you go. You just saved your project. And always remember to save your projects, because when you turn it off and you turn it back on, most of the changes are not going to be there. Depends on, which changes. Right now, we have this pattern, and it's the bank number 1, and then it's the pattern number 1. But it says untitled. And maybe what I want to do, I want to save the pattern instead of a project. Now, you need to know that when you save a project, you are saving the pattern as well. But still, if you want to save the pattern and not the project, you can do it. Now, right here, it says save pattern and then reload pattern. This is not it. This is the temporary save that we're going to be discussing in a minute. So I'm going to be doing function, and I'm going to be going to save project. And it says save all patterns and project settings. Well, yeah, if I do yes, it's going to save the project, right? So we kind of already told you this. So there you go. The pattern is just saved and the project as well. Still going to settings right there, you can go to the pattern option. If I go to yes, you will get a bunch of options like clear the pattern, maybe save it to the project. This is the way you save it to a project, or you just can import or export different patterns right here. Now, in this case, what I care is just renaming this. And I'm gonna, name it something cool. There you go, something cool. I'm gonna say yes, and there you go. The pattern is saved, and the project as well. Always, you can go there and just save the project and patterns very quickly. Okay, so I know that the pattern and the project is saved within the memory of the device. Now we need to talk about the temporary save. So I know that the version that we have right here, it's, saved. It's completely saved, and I'm, way sure. So, okay, so what happens if we make some changes? So I'm going to be adding some changes. This is the note. I'm going to be adding some locks just because we can. Let me go to filter to something that, we can easily identify. This is going to be my lock. So if I do function and I do yes, it's going to save the pattern temporarily. Now, if I do func no, I'm going to do no, and it's going to say reload pattern. When I do so, it's going to take whatever we had stored in memory, and it's just going to roll it back to the version that we have stored in memory. So this is what the reload pattern will do. It will just reload it from the last saved state if you don't have a temporary save. Now, I'm going to be doing the same thing, but now I'm going to be doing the opposite. I'm going to be adding a param lock right here, so we know we have a different version from what we have in memory. And I'm going to do func, and I'm going to do save pattern. I'm going to do a yes. So notice it says right there at the top, saved to the temp area. So if now, maybe I'm going to go right here to this one, and I'm going to be adding, something else. Maybe I'm going to even, let me just do something on this one. And I'm doing filters, maybe because it's a little bit obvious. Maybe I'm going to be changing to some other note. So we know that this is something that we committed to the temporary save, and this is not. So if I play it, we know that this is not on the temporary save. So when I do func and no, I know that I'm going to be rolling back to whatever I stored on the temporary save. So maybe I don't like this change. So func no, it will roll back to whatever you have on the temporary save. Right? So all of this is a way of you playing around, and if you don't like it, you can always roll back to the last temporary save. Now, if I again do something again like here and do, maybe not this one, I'm going to go to the filter and do it again. So if I do func and yes, I'm going to be saving this change to the temporary memory. So if I do func no, it will never roll back to whatever, we had from before, because we already saved it. What you need to know is that when you reload the project, or we just maybe load a new one and then you load this one back, if you never save the pattern and the project, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose the changes. So you need to still, save it on the local memory. And I can just prove this. If I go to settings, right here and I go to pattern, I'm going to be reloading from project. So this is going to reload the last, good version that we stored on our project. I'm going to say yes, and it's going to give you some options. I'm going to use the whole pattern, and it's going to say reload pattern from save project. Yeah. And now if I play it, notice that we get none of the changes that we saved on the, on the temporary save. All right, so let's talk about chains, and it's something very simple. And I have a project right here. I have a pattern number 1 called 1. I have a pattern number 2 called 2, and the number 3, you guessed it, is going to be called 3. So if I play it, I'm just going to be getting the pattern number 1 because that's, the one I have selected. So what we can do, we can chain different patterns. What you need to do is you need to go to pattern and then hold the one that is going to be the first one that is going to be playing. So if I press and hold this one, whatever I select next is going to be added to the chain, and right at the top is going to tell you what the chain is. So if first is going to be playing the first one, then it's going to be playing the second one, and it says right there A1, A2. Maybe I want 2 rounds of A2. Well, then it's going to do it. Maybe it's going to go to A3 and then back to A2. So when you release it, it's going to be playing the chain. Then it's going to go, to the 2, one more round of the 2, then to the 3, and then it's going to go back to the 2, and everything starts over. That's how the chain works. Now, the bad part of using chains is that you can create your chain right here, and you cannot store it. Even if I go maybe to a different pattern, the chain is gone. If I go back to number 1, to step number 1, to the pattern number 1, and I play it back, the chain is gone. There's no way of saving the chains. So luckily for this, you have the song mode, and this is something that was introduced on the version 1.4 of the firmware update of this device, and it's a fantastic little thing. Okay, so now we need to talk about the song mode, and it's something really cool. It's completely different from chains, and we have a lot of control. So I'm going to be showing you how to do this. So I have a project with the 4 different parts. We have an intro, which is going to be a very simple intro, and it's just not super complex, just to identify the parts. If I go to the number 2, we have a kick and a bass, so it just sounds like an intro 2. Then if I go to the next one, it's going to be a break. And if I go to the 4th, this is going to be like a burst or verse. Right? Nothing super special. So I want to take all the parts and create a song with this. So we need to enter the song mode. So I'm going to be standing on the number 1. So how can we enter the song mode? So you need to go to the 3 dots right here. As soon as you tap this, it's going to give you a bunch of options. So right from the start, you see that the song mode is going to be off. So if you want to turn it on, you need to do yes to turn it on. So I'm going to be saying yes. So the song mode, it's on. Now at the top, it says song 1 is empty. So it's using the song mode. This one, again, on the camera, you don't see it, but it is light. It's yellow right now. So song mode is enabled, but we don't have a song, so we need to create it. So when you go back to the song mode, it's going to ask you, what do you want to do? You want to load the song or go to the menu or edit it? Well, in this case, maybe I'm going to go to load, and I'm going to be selecting the number 1, and again, the number 1 is empty. So this is how you can select the different songs. So if I go to load, notice that you have 16. So on each project, you can create 16 different songs and, store them on 16 different slots. And they could be 16 completely different songs from your whatever project that you're using. It's just a fantastic little thing. So in this case, I'm just going to say no because we are already on the song number 1. So if you're standing on the song number 1, what we want to do, we want to edit the song. We want to create it. So you need to go to edit. And right here, it's just going to bring you to the menu where you just start adding rows. And this is what we do. We add rows and we provide some instructions. Right here at the top, you get the icons of what you need to do. The first one is going to be the label, which is the name, intro or whatever we're going to do, which pattern we're going to be playing, how many repeats of that pattern, and then we have something called the row length, then the tempo, and then we have the row mute. All of this is just going to be very simple. The ones that need a little bit of an example are going to be the row length and the row mute. But don't worry, I have an example ready. So the way you do this is by adding rows. And you need to be careful right here. By doing function and holding it and pressing it down is going to create a new row. But if you do the opposite, function and then up is going to delete the row. So you need to be careful. So I'm going to do function, and as soon as I do that, it's going to be adding a row. And you can navigate this with the arrows, going to the left or going to the right. So right here, you need to decide which is going to be the pattern that you will start your song. Is the number 1. So when you go there, you will need to use the data entry. So the level data, sorry. And this will give you a bunch of function options. Maybe you want your pattern name or you want to leave it empty, but you have different tags just to identify the parts of the song. Now, since it's going to be an intro, I'm going to say yes to the intro. Now, I'm going to be going right here. It's going to be the pattern number 1. How many times do we want to play the pattern number 1? We're going to talk about this in a minute. And then, the BPM of that part. So it's pretty simple, right? So if I go right there at the bottom, notice it says end. So this is how the song is going to end. If it says loop, as soon as all the rows stop playing, it's going to loop back to the beginning. Now in this case, I don't want this. I'm just going to be saying stop. So when the song ends, it's going to stop the playback. Okay, so we have an intro. Now remember on the examples I show you, we have an intro number 2. So we want to add a new row. So I'm going to do function, and remember to do down and not up, because when you do up, it's going to delete the row. So this one is going to be, a different intro. I can use the pattern name, right? And I'm going to say maybe yes. There you go. Yes. And this one, I'm going to be selecting the intro number 2, and notice it's recognizing the name of the pattern. So I'm going to be playing it 1 time and same BPM. All right. So, we are kind of good to go. So maybe next we want to play a verse. So I'm going to stand right there, going to do function down. It's going to create a copy of whatever we had, when we are selecting this. It's just going to create a copy, and we just need to make the changes. So this one is going to be a verse. I'm going to say yes, and it's going to take us to the pattern number 3. And how many times do we want to loop it? So maybe I'm just going to be doing 2 just to do something. Now, maybe we want to break. I'm going to be doing function, add a new one, and we need to go right here and just say that we want a break. I'm going to use the pattern name. I'm going to say yes. And the break, I guess, is going to be, I made a mistake. The verse is going to be the pattern number 4. Sorry for that. And the break is going to be the pattern number 3. And maybe I want to play the break 1 time. So, this could be our song. Now, maybe ending the song on a break is not a good idea. So I'm going to be adding a new one. So I'm going to be going right there. Now, right here, I don't want a break at the end of my song. I want a copy of the verse. So I'm going to do a function, and this works just like anything else. Since you're standing there, you can copy right here with the rec. It's going to copy the row number 3. You can go all the way at the bottom and where you want to paste it and do func and stop just to paste it. And in this case, I'm going to be ending the song with 1 loop of the 4. That's it. If I play this, first it's going to be doing the intro. Two loops of the verse. 1 of the break. And then it's going to end with the verse. Cannot get easier than that. So, some change I would like to do. Maybe the intro 2 is going to be twice as long. So what the F is going to be this section. So when we add a pattern, it will identify how many steps you have on that pattern. And we know that the intro, well, maybe you don't, but I know that the intro and everything else is going to be just 16 steps long. So the verse in this case is going to be 16 plus 16s. We are playing it twice. So we have 32. Now, this row, what you can do with this, you just can offset the amount of steps. You can offset the length. So by default, the break, it's going to be 16, but maybe I can change this and I can make it, I don't know, so I'm going to make it 8 steps. And now this is the second break. And what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be playing it 3 times. Because again, it's going to be an offset. It's a break. We are trying to add variation. This is like the main point of this. So if I stop everything and play again, get the intro. the intro 2, verse, and at some point we will go to the break. Right? So what you do again, you just offset the amount of steps and it's just going to be doing that. And then if you loop it, it's going to play it multiple times and it's just going to do 8 steps of whatever pattern that you have. Now maybe what I would love to do, I would love to go right here and play it faster. This is why we have this option. We can change the tempo of that loop. All right, so going to be going to, I don't know, something crazy, something 171, why not? So I'm going to be playing it one more time. And if you wanted to, you can exit the song mode and watch how this goes, you know, on the other screen. Let's see how it sounds. There you go. And then the song ends. Now, maybe I would love to end the verse on a different way. Now, one thing that you can do if you exit the, you know, the mode, or maybe you can stay on the mode, but notice that when you go to the song mode, it says loop right there. All right, so I'm going to be, you know, exiting this. I'm going to start it again. You know, as the song ends, I'm going to start it again. Now, what I want to do is that I want to loop one of the sections. So when you go right there, you just can, with this, loop whatever row. And this is so you can make changes, you know, while staying on that row. And then whenever you want to keep moving forward, you just disable the loop. And it's just going to continue the song. Now, I want to loop the last row, which is the last verse. Now, on this one, what we can do, we can go right there to the mute. And the mute, what we'll do, it will mute, and notice it's purple. It can mute the different parts to create a variation. So maybe I just don't want the kick. Just, you know, gonna remove different parts. Maybe not that one. And I'm just gonna maybe end the song like this. Well, just, you know, just to give you an example. So that's it. And notice that when you're doing mutes, it's just gonna let you know right there. All right. So that's it. Whenever you want to get exit, you know, get out of the loop mode, you're just gonna continue the song. Now, all of this that you're doing, it's something that you need to save. If you don't save it, you lose it. So when you go to the song mode, right here you have a bunch of options. You can go to the menu, you can rename. I'm gonna rename it. I'm gonna call it Knicks. And why am I calling it Knicks? Because I'm a Knicks fan and I love the Knicks. I'm sorry if you are just, you know, from a different team, and I'm talking about NBA. So once you rename it, you can save it to a project, and there you go. When you save it, it's right there, so you can use it whenever you want. Remember, you can store up to 16 different songs. Now, when you're done using the song mode, you can, I'm gonna go no first. You can go no, and you're still in the song mode when you exit by doing no, right? So if you play it back at the top, it will just, you know, walk you through the different parts. I don't know, what else can you ask from this? It's just a fantastic thing. Right. If you want to get to exit the song mode, you just exit and you go right there by switch yes, and it's just, you know, exit the song mode. There you go. Alright, so we are pretty much done, but we still need to cover a few more things that we didn't cover. Right here you have your delay, you have your reverb, and guess what? You have a compressor. Now, I'm not going to be teaching you how a compressor works, but, you know, I'm going to show you how it is right here. So by doing function and then going to the filter, you have your delay, and all of this is just very simple. I feel like I don't need to explain this. You have your time control right here, so you just can make it really, you know, long, or just can make it a little bit shorter. You have a ping pong that you can turn off and on. You have a width control, you know, it's a stereo width, and then you get your feedback control, you know, just standard controls that you would get on any delay. It's gonna go crazy. There you go. So you have a filter right here at the bottom. You just can high pass, you know, which is going to be rolling off before it goes to the delay. And then you have the, you know, the other side. You can just filter the highs and the lows to have a, you know, a more dark sounding type of reverb. Now, right here, it says Rev. So what you can do, it can take the signal that goes through the delay, and you're going to be sending it to the reverb. If I just do it, it's going to sound a little bit different because the delay is going to the reverb. And at the end of the day, you can decide, the volume. Now, remember that the delay and reverb are effects that are shared for all the different sounds, right? So you get only one delay, and only one reverb. Now, the other one is going to be the reverb. If I do function and then tap the amp, it's going to take you to the reverb. And again, we have pretty standard controls. This one is going to be the pre-delay. If you pre-delay, pretty simple. The decay, if you want to make it super long, you can. This is going to be filtering, and I'm going to make it long just to make it obvious. It's going to, is like a dampener, right? So this is going to adjust the frequency. If you go to low, it's going to be cutting low more. So the reverb is going to be way darker. If you cut less, you get more high frequencies. So you can hear it, the higher frequencies there. Now still, right there, you can just go up in gain and have none of this shelving EQ that you get. Now still, right there at the bottom, just like the delay, you can just have a low pass and a high pass. And all of this is just pre, all right? This one is just going to be a pre-filter. And there you have your volume of your reverb. But then you have something cool right here that is going to be pre-comp or post-comp. Now, the thing is that you have a master compressor on the device. So you can choose if you want to send to the reverb post-compression instead of pre-compression. Because if you compress a reverb, you're going to be getting a lot of the artifacts. So maybe just sending it to post is going to avoid, getting all this artifacts if you're going to be doing hard compression. Again, it's just completely up to you. It's just a different sound. Maybe sometimes, compressing a little bit of the reverb is going to give you that, more glued sound. It's just completely up to you. Now, to access the compressor, I'm going to be maybe going all the way down on the reverb and, on the delay as well. I'm going to go all the way down. So if I play it, it's going to be pretty dull. Right. Pretty simple. That's, the thing that we've been using before. I'm going to do funk, and I'm going to go to the LFO. Notice it says master. Now, as soon as you go there, notice at the top, it says compressor, but it says 1 of 3. So you have 3 sections right here. You have your mixer, you have your external mixer, I'm going to be talking about this in a minute, and you have your master compressor. Now, I'm not going to be talking a lot about how a compressor works. Right here, you have your your threshold control. Maybe I can play it. Your threshold control, as soon as you go down, it's just gonna compress more, and right there it's just giving you, an indication of how much is compressing. It would be great to get how much is compressing and not just the line, but you cannot ask for much. This device is just pretty amazing. Then you have the attack and the release, and maybe I want a slowish attack and maybe it says faster release. So let me just set it there so we can compress. Now this one is going to be your makeup volume, with V. As soon as you go up, it's going to make up for the volume. Now right there at the bottom, which is this one, is going to be the mix. By default, this is all the way dry. And if I go all the way to the compression, it's going to be all the way compressor, which is maybe a little bit too much. Now for now, I'm just going to keep on the compressor so we can, see what's going on right here. So since this is a compressor, you get your ratio right there. You can do all the way from almost nothing to 2 to 3 to 4, all the way up to limit land. All right. Now, right here, it says SOS. No, it says SCS. And this is for a sidechain. So, one of the most used things in, music and electronic music is going to be sidechaining the kick, right? So you can duck pretty much everything when the kick, hits. Yeah, that's how it works. Now, right here, you cannot select which channel you're going to be ducking, right? Or with the sidechain. So by default, it's going to be on main. So it means that the compressor will just pretty much react to everything. Now, if I go here, it's going to let you ask, it's going to let you select which input or out which tracks are going. The compressor is going to be reacting to. So the kick is going to be on track number 1. So now if I do play, the compressor reacts to the kick, and it's going to be compressing everything else, but not the kick, which is cool. It's a little bit better because on the other, when we do main, it's super crushed. The kick is just destroying everything. This one is just a little bit smoother. Maybe it's just a little bit less attack. Okay. Also, we have a sidechain filter, and this is again a nice little thing. If I go right here, we can filter whatever we want on the on the main. I'm gonna go back to the main. If I do nothing and maybe do more attack so we can make it react, notice how the compressor is going. Let me go all the way there. So we are just pretty much compressing everything. So what I want to do, I want to remove some frequencies to have the compressor react in a different way. So I'm just chopping all the lows. If we want to do the opposite, we want to chop the highs before going to the compressor, so the compressor will react differently. So all of these are just, common knowledge of compression. So if you really want to learn how a compressor works, you need to watch maybe a video about compression. Now, when you do funk and you go to the, for now I'm just gonna, go all the way dry on the compressor. You can do funk, tap it one more time, and it's gonna take you to the mixer. If I do play, you just can manage your different tracks from here, how much you're doing. Maybe the kick's just a little bit too loud, and the bass as well. I don't know which one it is, so I'm gonna be searching for this because I don't remember. It's the one. And again, you just manage your controls from the mixer. Pretty understandable. Now I can do function. I'm going to tap it one more time, and it's the page number 3. And this one is going to be the ins. And I'm going to be stopping. So right here at the back, let me adjust the camera and just show you, you have an input left and an input right. So you can just input directly audio to there. So this is going to be the mixer for that. So you have an in left and an in right, a pan left, a pan right, because remember the inputs are mono. So if you're inputting something there and something there that it's stereo, maybe you would want to pan, the left to the left and the right to the right. And still, you can control the levels that goes into the in, so you can just, adjust everything. And right here, you can send whatever input to the delay, and you can just you do it on a more stereo way. That's why, you get to 2 of pretty much everything. Now still, right here, it says dual. So if I go to the level data and just change it, notice that now we just don't get 1 for each input. We get 1 for pretty much everything. So now what it's going to do behind the scenes is going to treat the input and the, the input LL and the left and the right as, they are just a mono source. It's going to be the same for left and right. And you just can do everything just one time, and you don't need to do it twice. But all of this is just for the inputs. Once you go out, it's going to take you back to the LFO. Okay, to finish, I'm going to be talking about the filter and the LFO and just going to expand what we know. Now, still, there are a lot of things that I didn't cover, like the sampling, the different sampling modes that we get right there, the one shot and everything else. Again, you have a different video for this. Check the links at the description and check the cards. Now, still, I'm going to be going to the filter right now, and I have a long type of sound, which is going to be, the sample is going to be called breather, I guess. It's going to be breather, so that's the sound I'm going to be using. And notice that we have a long tail, and this is just so we can, use it on the filter. Now, right here, you have very standard controls. I feel like, again, I don't need to explain everything, but there are some other controls that maybe require a little bit of explanation. So you get your good old filter so you can, chop frequencies. In this case, it's going to be a high frequencies, and then you get your resonance. Now, all of this are the controls for the envelope. You have your attack, your decay, and I'm not gonna again explain how an envelope works. I'm gonna assume that you already know this. Now, your envelope control is gonna make it go positive or negative depending on your envelope. Notice that if I add a little bit of attack and maybe go down and do more, we hear that wow. So you're gonna go up in volume. There we go. So, you know, depends on the envelope. This is just gonna be moving up or down, right? Now, the interesting part of this filter is that you have different types. You have a low pass, just like, you know, the one we've been using, but you have a high pass, which means that you can chop lower frequencies. And again, the cutoff is going to be reactive to whatever you have on the envelope. Pretty simple, right? Now, what is super cool, and I'm going to do nothing for now, I'm going to go to the other modes and notice what you get. So if I move this, the other modes, you know, it's going to be EQ1, then we're going to have EQ2, EQ3, 4, and then 5. So all of these ones are EQs more than filters. So what you can do, you can just select whatever frequency and you just can, and maybe if I go to no envelope modulation, what you can do, you can cut frequencies. It's just like an EQ. You're just going down in that part of the frequencies. Now, this is controlled by the gain. If you go down, you're just going to be, you know, pulling down, but you can boost that part. So again, this one works like an EQ. Now, you have the different EQ types, which is going to be, you know, how narrow or how wide the EQ is. And you can go to 5, which is super narrow. And just like this, you know, again, you can just chop frequencies, or you just can boost, and also you just can modulate it like this. If I use an envelope, notice that that boost, that peak, is just giving us that modulation sound. So since you can use this by, you know, just like an EQ, just like that, and we go to that one, just like an EQ, you have a different section, which is the second part of this. So remember, by doing func and moving these values, you can go into whole values. In the case of the filter, it's just going to go all the way down to 0. Now, by typing or pressing filter again, it's going to take you to the second page. Now, the most interesting part right here is that since on the first part, you can use this as an EQ, maybe you still want to cut a little bit of the lows and a little bit of the highs. So essentially down here below, you get a low pass and high pass, you know, in series. So if I do maybe something like this and do it, that is that we are chopping the low frequencies. So you might be doing a little bit of boosting and modulation right here, but on the other page, you can still cut a little bit of the lows and maybe a little bit of the highs. If you cut too much, you know, you're just going to be cutting too much. So this is not affecting the envelope and the cutoff modulation, but it's, you know, affecting the frequencies. So again, on the filter, you get a kind of a mix between a filter and an EQ. Now, the other thing that you get right here is a sample rate redux. So is again, you're just going down on the sample rate of the sound, which, you know, can, if you modulate this, can give you interesting sounds. So you can choose to go before the filter or post filter, and this is about the, you know, the sample rate. So the you know, the crusher, the redux, could be post filter or pre filter. And of course, you get different results. Now I'm gonna go all the way down this one, and then you have the delay. Now, this delay is something that should be on this envelope, but I guess they placed it right here because there's not enough space right here to put the delay. Now, the delay goes before the attack, and this is a delay for the envelope. How long is going to be taken? If I go back, notice that right now we have a tiny little space right there. It's going to delay the envelope execution. So if I do something a little bit more obvious, I'm going to be going to maybe a low pass and do less resonance because it's going to be really obvious then. I'm going to be playing it, and notice that as soon as I play it, it's not filtering and it's not modulating. It's going to take a little bit of time because we are delaying it with this. And you can go, go all the way up on this one, all the way up, and it's going to be really delayed, right? You just can just delay it a little bit and get a nice result. Right. Let's talk about the LFO, and the LFO is just pretty basic. If you already know about LFOs, you might not need this section. But again, maybe you're just starting and you need a little bit more feedback in the different modes, what they do and why we get a phase and all of that. So by default, you just need to go to the LFO and match it to something else. So in this case, I'm going to be going to find the filter, something that we can identify when we modulate. I'm going to be going to filter frequency. I'm going to say yes. So now we're going to be modulating that filter frequency. I'm going to go to the filter. I'm going to go down and I'm going to be doing something like that. As soon as I play it, what is it? Nothing happens. And it's because we need to go to the LFO and we need to define an intensity. So this is going to be the depth. How much of that LFO will affect the cutoff frequency? There you go. It's going up and down. The filter is going up and down. That's what we are doing. How fast we are going up and down is going to be decided by the speed. Pitch super slow, what is super fast, and so on. Now then you get in a scaler right here. And I guess they added this section so you don't have to, if you want to go up and down speed and rates, you don't have to do this. And maybe you can stay at some fixed rate and then it's going to go up and faster, faster, and faster, and so on. And you can easily modulate this control and get, really cool sounds. Almost like, modulation or type of a fan or something like that. And if you want to go slower, you go slower if you wanted to. So again, this is just for that. For now, I'm just going to stay there. So then what you have is your fade. I'm going to be talking about this in a minute. And you have your wave. So you have different waves. The first one is going to be a triangle. The second one is going to be a sine wave. You get a square, which is going to be an on and off. And I'm just, always playing this button. And then if I go to this one, it's going to be the saw. It's going to be a saw down, just a saw. The other one is going to be an exponential, the variation of a saw. And the other one is going to be the same thing, but it's called a ramp. Instead of going up and down like this one, it goes down and up. Changes the sound. And then the other one is going to be a random or sample and hold. I guess, right here it's called random. So, alright, so I'm going to be going to something a little bit easier. Maybe something like that. As soon as I play it, it starts up and then goes down and it starts over and over again. So we need to talk about the different modes that we have right here. Now the first mode is going to be free. So this means that the LFO behind the scenes is going to be running free. So if I play it multiple times, just like this, notice that sometimes it's going to start. Maybe I'm going to be selecting that and I'm going to be going all the way up in depth. Notice I'm going to be playing this and sometimes it's going to be up and sometimes it's going to be down. So it's not super consistent. And maybe it's going to be a little bit obvious So let me do something. I'm going to go right here and instead of selecting the filter frequency, I'm going to be going to the sample and then the tune because it's we can identify it a little bit better when we change the pitch. I'm going to go back to the filter, just do no modulation. There we go. So I'm going to go less on the speed. Okay, so if I play it, notice that sometimes it will start differently. If I play it again, so sometimes it starts down, sometimes it starts in a different place. So notice it's very inconsistent, and it's because behind the scenes the LFO it's constantly moving. So sometimes I'm catching the LFO at the beginning of its phase, or sometimes it's going to be at the middle, sometimes it's going to be at the end, and it's because the LFO is free running. This is the first mode. Now the second mode, it's going to be trigger. Usually it's called retrigger. So it means that every time I play it, trigger whatever sound is going to start the LFO again. So it's going to be super consistent. Every time I play it, it's going to start where the LFO starts. Right? Super consistent. Not consistent. Sometimes it's going to be up, sometimes it's going to be down. And it will always start at the same point. And this is why you have the face. Maybe you just want to start down and not up. So notice that now it starts down and then goes down and then goes up. Right? So you can change the phase to start on different places. Again, all of this just, very common LFO controls. Now, the next one, it's going to be hold. Now, this one is not so common and it's just, kind of cool. So what this does is that when we play it and the note is triggered, the output level is going to be latched. And it's going to be held until we play it again. And again, it sounds very interesting. If I play it and I keep tapping it, notice that it's going to be different every time I just tap it, which is super cool. It sounds really cool. A lot of different variations with the same, trigger. Again, not a very common LFO that you get on, a lot of devices. So then you get the one. Now, one is one shot. It only triggers once, and then when you trigger the note, and then it dies. So I'm going to be doing maybe something faster. There you go. I'm playing and holding the note. So if I play it, it triggers the modulation, and then stays right there at the bottom. And then goes down. Right. So this is what it's going to do. It's just going to trigger one time. Again, it's a very common LFO. Now, this one is the HLF. I guess it's half. And it's not a very common LFO, but it's super cool. Instead of doing the whole cycle, it's going to do half of a cycle. As it goes up, but it's not going down. The other ones, if I go to this one, notice it going up in pitch and it's going down in pitch. Maybe I'm going to be staying right there, going up and down in pitch. But this one doesn't. It's going to do half of a cycle, goes up and then down. And last but not least, you have the fade. If you stay right there at the bottom, at the middle, it's not going to do anything. So essentially what this does, it will just fade the effect in or out. I'm going to be going back to the frequency that we had before. So just to show you how this works, and maybe I'm going to go to the filter and do something about this. A little bit of resonance. If I play it, we kind of get it. So I'm going to go to the LFO, and maybe I'm going to be using something a little bit nicer, like a sine wave, something a little bit easier to hear. And I'm going to go fast. So I'm going to be playing it. And at the end, right here is going to do a fade. There we go. There we go. Notice that when I play it, it's less intense. And then as it goes, moves forward, it's just going to be growing in intensity. Now the other side is just going to be, the opposite. If I go there, it's more intense at the beginning and then kind of a fades at the end. Right. So that's it. That's going to be, the whole LFO. Now, you get two LFOs. So maybe on this one, you can filter the frequency, and the other one, when you tap it again, you notice it says LFO 2 of 2. So you can just pick a different destination and do, whatever other thing you want. The controls are completely the same. Okay, so that's it. It was a long, deep dive, but with everything that we covered on this one, you just can do great. You can create great performances. Now, we still need to talk about a few things that I didn't cover on this video, and it's going to be about the sampling, which is going to be the source. And I kind of already told you this, but I'm just going to remind you. When you go to the source, remember, if you go to the function, you get the machines. If you check the links at the description or the cards, there's going to be a link right there, and I've recorded a video just talking about the machines and showing you how they work. So the other thing is that when you maybe add a step and you hold it, you get the conditionals right here, like pre, nay, what the F is this? So I've recorded a different guide just showing you an example for all the different options and different conditions that you get. And the other thing I recorded is the MIDI tracks. How can you use the MIDI tracks in a more, kind of a useful way, because right now they're just not usable. So I'm going to be showing you how to connect this with the DAW and, how to use all the different params that you get right here with MIDI. Now, all of these are going to be, again, on the cards or the links in the description. If the links are not at the description and they're not in the cards, it's because the videos were not released yet. I cannot release 5 videos about one single, thing because I just, YouTube doesn't like it. Okay, so that's it pretty much. It's a fantastic little instrument that when you get to know it and you learn all the workflow, the Elektron workflow, it's just super creative. So if you want to get one, just get it. It's really, really cool. You're going to be really satisfied, but make sure that you learn it. If not, you're just going to be a little bit disappointed. Alright, so again, if you learned something and you liked all of this, please like and subscribe. And if you have the money and you just want to buy me a coffee just to say thanks, you can. Go to the links at the description. You have links for Patreon, you have PayPal, and you have YouTube thanks. So maybe you can be a 1-month patron and just, buy me a coffee that way. Okay, so see you on the next one.